we formally introduced the Imara Women's Center, for which we broke ground on 7th of March. And it is through the center that we'll be able to sustain the work that we do as an organization, but will also be our contribution to the women's movement. Because as you know, all of us are working on different pieces to be able to achieve the broader goal of an equal future for our country. So we ask you to join us as we raise the funds that we need for this center. The center will be an opportunity to anchor our work on the advancement of women's rights, and it will also enable us to ensure that our daughters and more women can benefit from the work that we do. So we are calling upon you to support us. Some of you have already bought some materials at the end. Please buy some more, but also give an individual contribution to enable us achieve our goal. We are employing a strategy where we would like as many people to give as little over a long period of time. And Isabella, my colleague, please stand up, can be approached for any other information you may need on the center and how you can support us. We are not only looking for financial contributions, we are looking for in-kind contributions, we are looking for linkages to other partners, and so on. So on this note, I welcome you once again to this dialogue. I hope that by the end of the dialogue today, all of us will have picked up on the urgency and necessity to break the bias and ensure that all women count. I wish you good deliberations.
So thank you very much, Patricia, for the opening remarks. Can we give her another hand? So before we have our keynote address for this great function, I want to define for you a woman who is economically empowered. A woman is economically empowered when she has both the ability to succeed and advance economically, and the power to make and act on economic decisions. So in that category, I want to invite our keynote speaker this morning, Dr. Margaret Chigozi, whom I believe is an empowered woman. So Maggie is a well-known business consultant, an educator, and a sportswoman. Maggie is an associate professor at Mackay University and has served in many capacities, notably as the executive director of the Uganda Investment Authority, chancellor at Nkumba University, director of the board at the Uganda Export Promotion Board and Crown Beverages, and a focal point officer for the Africa-Asia Business Forum. So Maggie's address will cover the regional economic context and how women can navigate space in the economy based on her personal experience. Dr. Chigozi, welcome.
Honorable members of Parliament, for Ward Chair and the board, and the ED, UOPA, the districts, everyone who's here. First of all, I'm so happy that you are from all over the country. That is really nice. It's good to be talking to people we don't see very often. Oh, yeah. I think I'll remove the mask. Yes, she said I was empowered. Do you know why? I thought I would clearly show you why I'm standing here confidently. I know if Patricia doesn't give me lunch, I can actually go and do what? If the car has a problem, I can find my way around. And I thought I'd be very clear on what we are talking about. Am I empowered? Absolutely. I am empowered. And it is really important that this is a very important area that we should really focus on. And I'm happy Forward has today, and other days, of course, but today made this a special center of what we are going to discuss today. Apologies. So how women can navigate space in the economy. We do thank Forward for the work done, the advocacy that you do, the training that you do, the economic empowerment. And as you've said, Patricia, we are seeing results. We still have a long way to go, but we have made progress. I will share a few of the achievements. Let me actually take it back to the private sector. Discuss today what happens in the private sector because I'm there, and maybe not all of you exactly know what is there. In the private sector, we have achieved much. Women, as Patricia also said, control 39% of Ugandan farms. Some are actually quite big. Don't lump us, and I think the Minister for Gender was telling us, whenever in Parliament she tries to talk of economy, they go to those micro, and we are not micro anymore. We are ready to take our seats at the big tables, and we are beginning to do that. And agriculture, 70% actually, comes from our mothers and those people out there on the farms. And again, even the farms, Ugandan women are in commercial farms doing excellent work. Big. And I wanted to touch on just a few. In Noya, Adieri works with thousands of women in the area. I'm sure Forward is working with Hasisa, and I know UN Women has been supporting her. Goody Leisure Farm. Goody does white chicken, based here just in, is it Nigeria? But she's all over the country, sharing white meat, how to rear chicken, and she deals with thousands again of women. That's the private sector too. I met yesterday Victoria Ntaki. She's my neighbor there on the farm in Chitalia. She has a huge tea farm in Chitalia. She has a huge tea farm in Lugazi, and she produces my favorite tea, garden tea, with her husband. Her husband does the manufacturing, but she does the growing. And the thing about these women, as I've told you, is the fact that, we are feminists to the core. We are there, and wherever an opportunity arises, we do not forget our sisters. We are there to pull one another up. But we have challenges. Only 9% of loans in Uganda are given to business women. We have 40% as women, less bank accounts than men. And even after COVID, only 25 to 30% of us use mobile money. Now, mobile money is a solution for all of us. And then when you find that some business women are not using it, there are serious problems there. So leadership, how have we done? And we want to thank Forward and all the women's organizations, Akina Mama Africa, that teach leadership. Because you are teaching not only Civil society, you are teaching the business women. They come to you when they are young, and that leadership they take with them. And I want to share just a few again. The apex private sector body in Uganda is called the Private Sector Foundation, and it has the top body, the Advisory Council. A few years ago, it could have been mainly men. Now you have an Ida Wanendeya. Who doesn't know Ida? You have Lydia Ochengobo and myself. So, top positions, women who can articulate the issues of women, and we are doing that. Private Sector Foundation itself, the board, the vice chair is a founder for what I think, Honorable Victoria Sechitoleko. She is the vice chair. So you see what you are creating, even in the private sector, but maybe I wanted to share with you, and a number of the members are women, large number, over 50%. Last year, our chair was Barbara Mlwana of Uganda Manufacturers Association. She's now the first one to sit on the UMA Advisory Council. So again, we are making inroads, slowly but surely. We are getting there. And of course, very many board members are also ladies. Then the other sectors I won't go through. Logistics, we have incredible women there. Marianne Sebunya has been chair for a long time. Jennifer, you know, so many. Met a lady last week, and I can't remember her name. She owns 200 trucks. Can you imagine owning 200 trucks? Even one gives me a heart attack. 200. Running up and down, carrying things. Tourism. I want to share my sister Hajat, Sarah Chiimba from Brovat, Masaka. Her husband died. I don't know if you know. I was at UIA, so she was my investor. She died when the hotel was little. It was only maybe, 10% done. She's finished it. She has another one in Kalangala. She has a boat cruise that takes people to Kalangala. And she has a tour agency and buildings in Masaka. Yesterday I saw my friend, smart young man who's always talking about the rich people in Uganda. He was talking about Sudhir and, and in there was Nabukera. Yeah, she was saying that these are the guys that run Kampala. And among them was Nabukera, who owns a number of malls, I am told. I have not met her. But we are there. We are there. We are leading the front. In education, Victoria, Staiba, great ladies, Mariam and Mrs. Buyondo. As women, we tend to bring on the family. When the men have been owning businesses, well, you might hear about a son. It could be Senabulia and son, right? Do you ever hear Senabulia and something? No. But the lady is different. When Mrs. Mulwana took over, she's chair, and the thing is running really, really well with all the children. When I've already told you of Brovat as well, her children are in that business doing various components. Adieri is alive, her husband is alive, he's a judge, but he runs the farms. He runs parts of the business. The daughter is a corporate lawyer. The son is doing business. So we are family-oriented. I, as well, have my 3 children in all my businesses. And we are proud of, the Law Society. But a few years ago, 2000, we asked the women, what are your problems? And they told us, 1, information and knowledge. You ladies are too busy. When you leave whatever work you do, you run to your kids, you run to cook, you don't have time to get information. So for what we appreciate the fact that you package it for us and you bring us and we get it. And knowledge as well. Access to finance. Again, is still a challenge to date. Much better though. That was, they had couldn't go, the banks at that time were terrible. They've improved tremendously. They now have programs for women. Stanbic launched theirs last week. Stand Big for Her. And that's a nice one. Superwoman, I think that's a centenary. There are programs for us in the various banks. They are trying to get us to. Whereas before, you go to the bank, first of all, the security guard would chase you away. The security guard would say, what do you want? And you'd be so scared. The women lacked confidence at that time. Now you tell him off, of course, I'm sure. But at that time. So they had to improve customer care right from the security guard all the way, and put a desk for women and, these various activities for women. The other challenge for them, land. Both for agriculture, I think Patricia covered that well, they have no rights. It's the husband's land. So if I start my business there, I am challenged. So that land for agriculture, but also to use as collateral in the bank. That was traditionally, but again, we are happy our fathers are actually leaving land to their daughters. There's been a lot of changes. Secondly, you daughters, just go and buy your own land. You are making a salary, save, go and buy. Let's stop waiting for grandfathers and I don't know whose little piece of land. So that is happening. These women, I told you about the ones who are doing agriculture. They have huge tracts of land. They just bought them. They did not inherit them. The other thing that annoys the ladies immensely, and I'm happy URA is here. Sorry, I'm going to say some nasty things. And PPDA is here. But at that time, we are talking 2000. The ladies were not amused. URA, oh my God, they were so scared of you. They didn't have information. Nobody trained them. You just come asking for money, Police, oh my God, how much did they hate the police? Too much. Customs at the border. Here I want to particularly thank EASI, Trademark East Africa, who have done a great work to improve cross-border trading for these women, marketplaces that are nice for them. So much has happened, but that was a complaint at that time. Well, I can't say that I was okay. They were scared of us at the Uganda Investment Authority. All my smart young men in their ties, those women were not coming in. I had to make a special effort, put an institution in place, get the girls in the team who were not that many at that time, and we pulled the women in and gave them training and confidence, and now they are flying, that's all they needed. Women just need to know. They need to understand. They need to get the confidence that what they're doing is right, and they fly. And that's what they did. Markets, here, the East African community is a good thing. It will be even better as we ourselves grow bigger, and also it has its challenges. And now there's a bigger African one, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. It's going to be exciting for us. We can send our products. We want to welcome DRC. That's a huge market of people with money. People, will be able to sell there. The other one that the women had as a problem, and that one continues, is our patriarchy. Our patriarchy challenges with husbands. He doesn't want you to work. He doesn't, all that kind of thing. You know what happens there, so I won't go into it. Then the bosses, same thing. Harassment. Yeah, so we have had those challenges. But with your work, with the work of all the organizations here for WODE, it's getting better. It's getting better. It's not getting worse. I know COVID did bring up some nasty things. So ours is to pull up our sisters as private sector, right from wherever you have a position. So if you're on the board, are there other women on the board? I've been opening that board to several women wherever I go. The first thing I say, I can't be here alone. Where are the other women? And then keep on demanding until women are brought on board. And that's what all of you should be doing. You get into a place and there are only men, make some noise. Management. There are some areas, ladies, we have taken over. Maybe you have not noticed. Every HR in town is women, is a female. Every finance manager will soon be female. We're moving that way. Marketing. There are some areas where we have the better skills and the confidence and the trustworthiness, and we are taking over. So we are really excited that that is happening in the private sector. We have the workers, we have the distributors. Are there facilities for women? I remember when I first joined Pepsi, it was a very, very male place. There were no washrooms for the women. You had to share washrooms. That's how bad it was. But now it's very, very different. We cater for our women very, very well. When you're choosing workers, choosing distributors, we keep in mind always, where are the women? Where are the women? Can encourage them to apply. And when they apply, we know they add value. Who understands the customer? Who's a customer? The customer is female. The face is female. Even where you have a man in the room, he has been given a list. The soap we use here is this. Don't just go and pick up any soap. So the face, even when he's the man in the supermarket, the one who's buying was left at home. So if you can't cater for that person in your company, you're not going to succeed. If you don't understand them, you need a woman to understand a woman. Therefore, we encourage, train, skill women, motivate them. This month for me is so busy. And I'm sure Patricia and others and the honorables, because everybody wants us to motivate their women. Be they the companies, be they the media, everybody wants us in this particular month. So we appreciate that it's there and try not to refuse, but there are too many. You can't go everywhere every day to talk to women in various companies. The pay gap, again, thank you for working on that. As we as well, private sector, we are working on the pay gap. Why are women paid less than men for the same job? And it will take time, but it's happening. At least people are aware that there is a problem. There's that problem. And we talked about finance. Our banks now, I remember a time when we had only one female bank manager. We now have 6, and we have some of the biggest. We have Citibank, we have Stanbic. We're moving, ladies. Can I have a clap? Come to the associations. We form associations that make it possible for us to work together. So PSFU has about 200 member associations. These would be the farmers, the beekeepers, the tourism and whatever. And there are also women-only associations. You have the coffee association, and then you have women in coffee association. So we are moving. We are getting support. Coffee, others, there are associations that we work through, and these associations are all very friendly to females. So in closing, if I take too much time, what would I like to see? I would like to see us work more closely, private sector and civil society. Of course, government is always there somehow. But you've heard we are feminists as well. You've heard we are the ones who know how to make the money. We really are willing to work with you. We are willing to contribute in any way that we can. And you don't have to call associations individuals. They are out there. If you had not invited me and invited any one of the others, they would have been here. Because we know we really want money in everybody's pocket. When you are not earning and you are female, you're in trouble. You really are. So we would love that partnership more to develop economic development of women. We'd love to share research and data. You do a lot of that. We don't do so much. We'd love to share what you have done. We'd like to see parenting of both boys and girls. I don't think we can continue to just worry about girls. We need to pull up the girls, that is true. They need to catch up. But what kind of boy are they finding if we don't do some work with the boys? What kind of men are they marrying? When you've trained them so well, they're so empowered, and, the men are a problem. So let's also bring the boys on board and the men on board so that we have gentlemen. Right now, there's a lot of fighting, there's beating, there's, mob justice is just scary. People just wake up and say you are a thief, and they kill you. Really? The torture that we have seen. Too much, even young people just killing one another, fighting one another. What is happening? I think that's an issue that we need to look at very seriously and find solutions to. So as women, there's nothing for us without us. We must be a part of everything. I want to ask Patricia and you, the smart civil society organizations, SDG 5, I am Ambassador SDG 5. We promised equality by 2030. It's only a few years left. Are we achieving it? What do we need to do? The only thing that has worked in the past is affirmative action. In government, it's fairly easy. So let's start there. Margaret, can we just go to parliament and say in each district there's a man and a woman? 50% done. But it's not only about parliament. It's all the other institutions. Where's the equality? Then even the private sector asks, where is the equality? It's not there yet. So we need to lobby for affirmative action. Thank you very much for listening to me, ladies and gentlemen. Let me stop here.
So can we give Maggie another big clap? So thank you so much for the sharing. I think you've inspired a number of people in the room, both men and women. And I want to welcome in a special way the male champions in the room, given that we are talking about the issue of parenting and looking at both boys and girls. So thank you so much, the males who have joined the movement in terms of looking at issues of equality. So I'm going to open up for 10 minutes for comments. So any of you who has been inspired, you want to say something, you want to share more, what Maggie has said, we have 10 minutes to discuss. I want to ensure that everybody has a chance to speak. So when you get a mic, please don't go beyond a minute. Who's moving the mic? I need another mic. A second mic. So I have 2 hands, 3, 4. The first one, I think, is from National Planning Authority. Then I'll come to. I want another mic. This is mine. NPA. I'm the chairperson. A minute, please.
So, Dr. Maki, appreciating that cause. Thank you, Dr. Maki.
So if I give you a minute, I want to make it a minute. Don't force me to pull the mic from you because I'm capable of doing that. Yeah. I'll be
utilize this land for production and at the end improve on their, earn some money that can be able to liberate them from the poverty that we are all talking about. So we've made some strides. We want to appreciate the government for the various policies, programs that have been put in place. We are all looking forward to this parish development model because this takes resources closer to the women at the grassroots level, and we hope that we as women and men will go down to do our oversight role to ensure that this money reaches that person at the grassroots. Otherwise, thank you very much. As far as the struggle continues.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable. So you are all on the table. It can go in a circle. The honorable.
Thank you, Doctor, for the presentation. Mine is about business incubation. The informal sector contributes, it has 51% employment, but it contributes less to the GDP. What does it mean? We need to put in effort in as far as business incubation is concerned for the informal sector. Those are the businesses that are owned by the common woman. So we should look at that sector. You said 70% of women are in agriculture, and most of them are in subsistence. How do we have the women do commercial? So I think we need to look at issues of incubation. How do we uplift a woman? And how do they contribute to, the GDP of this country? Then agriculture, how do we ensure that this woman can have what to eat at home? And at the end of the day, have something in the pocket. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Silas. I needed to reintroduce myself because I'm the only male here. And I'm happy the women are overempowered around my table. My concern, one, around taxation. We are happy that, yes, women have positions in the country at the upper level. You can talk of the vice president, PM, the speaker, and there's so many. But the question is, how often do you, as the women of this country, ask the other leaders of ours to have a round table with you to
Thank you very much. That is a message for all of us.
My name is Hope Grania Nakaziwe, one member of Parliament Mobese, and Secretary General Whooper. I'm glad to be here. I want to appreciate Dr. Chigozi for that wonderful speech, which was well thought out and planned. One of the issues I was going to talk about has been talked about by Honorable Silas, inviting our big leaders. I want us as women to look at every woman who is higher than you, and then you think, that is my woman. For us to take that credit, to share that credit, whenever you see a woman taking up a position of higher responsibility and decision making, let us all look at it as our own benefit. That is when we shall all support each other. But whenever you see another woman and be like, that one, achimazi, as you always say, let it be that women are now coming up. Let it be for us, not for that only woman. And that will only come when what Honorable Silas has said happens. When we invite these women in big positions and they tell us what they have for us or what we can do to become who they are at that time. What we mean is we need to have that influence from them. Good enough, of late we are seeing it, the Prime Minister moving to the local level. Actually, many of the women down in our communities would like to have all those big women as their guest of honors whenever they prepare any activity that they prepare. So we are kind of getting such a response from those big people, those that we see will be of influence to us and to those women who are down. So Dr. Maggie mentioned that this month has been very busy, that women in the various corners would like those that they see as their models to reach out to them. But it is becoming so hard. Let us strive to do that. Honorable members of Parliament, if I invite Honorable Sarah Pend, who is coming from Tororo, and she comes to Mubende, you don't know how many people would like to see you. Leaving that, let me talk about the economic empowerment that Dr. Maggie talked about, and she pulled out the notes. Many of the women out there are suffering because they are not economically empowered. I want to give a case scenario of this lady who was beaten by her husband when she went to nurse and pleaded that the man.
Thank you so much. Amora is humbled to interact with you, Dr. Maggie. My question is one. Africa as a continent, we have challenges. We lack trust. That's one thing. We also lack cooperation. And that is one of the reasons why we fail to adapt to e-commerce. And why I'm referring to this is because you talked about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And I wanted to put a question back to you. As you see how the youth and women are struggling with e-commerce, how well or how best do you think we can utilize such space so that we can be able to use it best? As you see, most of us here relate to agriculture. So how best can we utilize that space so that we can market our goods and be able to earn from it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm Kenyan Agnes from Rukunjiri district. First of all, I would like to thank the government and the NGOs for lobbying, for advocating for the rights of women in Uganda and the world at large. But I'm concerned about women with disabilities. Most of them did not attain quality education. They don't own land, as you've said, so they cannot get loans in order to support themselves or to take up big businesses. So I would like to know the package you have for them, since they are poorer women in Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chigozi, Dr. Chigozi. I'm Cervical Joel MP in Twetwe, Chankwanzi District. One, there is a big improvement on women welfare in Uganda, I accept. But there are many casual workers in our homes who are women and elsewhere. But if you look at the minimum wage bill that was brought in 9th Parliament, then brought back to 10th Parliament, this bill was not assented to. Yet we hope that when this bill is assented to, more women who are working would get money and stand on their own. And has left women behind because of this bill. As NPA and the Uganda Investment Authority, your docket, I think you should advise the president to assent on this bill. Another thing that you talked about, there is a parish development model. Yes, it is good. But when you take this money for development and our health facilities have no drugs, it means that this money will cater for treatment of our children, most who are women, and the women will lose this money on treatment. So my advice is that we should look at the national health insurance so that it is introduced, and this money becomes, it has a general purpose for development, but not to look after our health, not to pay school fees, because even the education sector, the government schools are not performing very well as compared to private schools. So women now, since they have taken charge of their homes, they will use this money to take children to good schools instead of investing it. When you look at water, water is very important. And in Uganda, we have 68,000 boreholes. But the LC ones we have in Uganda are more than 17,000, 170,000. It is not even a quarter of the LCs that we have. And this water is where our girls are getting problems from, by getting water far from their homes, pregnant, and they are dropped out of because of this homes. So as we talk about women empowerment, it should be multi-sectoral. We look into all aspects to make sure that we do things in the right way. The roads, when women grow their crops and the roads are not good, they are cheated by these traders. So it is not good for us to say we are empowering women when things outside in the villages are not working well. Otherwise, I have many to say about this, but thank you very much. I had to say it because there is NPA and there is Uganda Investment Authority and all technical staff who can do all this work. Thank you very much.
I said a minute. Because I think I'll be even holding the mic.
Thank you. We take this opportunity to first thank Dr. Maggie for what she has presented. But still, you have talked about the challenges where women face during politics, but you have left others. I can also add on that we as ladies, we are facing a problem of having 2 sub-counties to cover, which is a very big challenge to us. So we are just requesting the MPs who are here that when you are tabling issues of women in the parliament, help us and look at this issue because we are having a big challenge here. Me, as Farida, a district councillor in Chibuku, I can share with you that I was just a community member. I want to show you where forward has moved. But during the trainings, when I came to participate in politics, I was trained with forward in public speaking, how to make a manifesto, and I was able to reach at the district level. Now, I went and stood for the post of chairperson in community-based services. I won the elections, and I've moved a motion in the council where I found that there was no space for females with babies in the council. They were just dumping the babies down, and even some of the technical people were putting babies in the mango trees. When I brought the motion, now we are looking for space at the district to put our babies when we are in council. So thank you for listening.
So as we are learning why you can make a difference. Thank you very much. I'm Rehema Hassan from Kibuku. My word of thanks goes straight to Doctor. Please, Doctor, God will be the one to reward you because of what we are doing. For us as Kibuku people, we were really lacking very many things. But since Forward came in Kibuku 2019, up to now we can stand. We are confident in speaking each and everything concerning Forward, what Forward taught us. We can do it with confidence. And in many places, you find women, by those days, women were just at home. But as I talk now, for parish model in Kibuku, at least 40 girls, they are the one managing parish model. Moreover, chairperson in most of the villages. That is one. Secondly, these meetings from the churches, Bower Hall, most of the chairpersons, only women, because of what Forward did to us. And in Kibuku, as I talk now, at the council, it's only women who can raise voices up more than men. And I know by 2030, Uganda will remain under women's hand. Thank you very much. Thank you. So the issue of capacity. Lastly, but not least.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kigozi and Patricia, for that message. And thank you so much for this engagement. I'm Yazid. I would have so many questions to pose for thinking, but given the limited time I have, I may not have answers to all the questions. But we are looking at the theme, bias vis-a-vis a woman counting. There are so many questions rotating about bias and a woman counting. What is the bias? Why is the bias? How is that bias affecting a woman in her engagement? We need a woman to count where? And why isn't the woman counting where we need her to count? There are so many questions that we can digest if time allows. However, I need also to think about the issue of mindset, because as a man who lives with a woman, of course, as a team, I should also be very honest to accept that the issue of mindset is very key. When we talk of resources that used to be productive in isolation of some other subsequent efforts, like land. Land used to be a productive resource during those days. Apparently, land is only productive when we are able to make it productive. So do we have the capacity to make the land productive? Now, that's the issue of mindset. Education used to be a resource. Apparently, we are looking at so many other factors rotating about education. What course are you doing? Perhaps which institution did you go? Which office are you working in? But you are all educated. So we need also to address the issue of mindset if we are to attain some of these issues. Just allow me a few minutes to address, okay, a few seconds. Okay. Once again, we want to count as women. We are saying we can only be counted if we attain total inclusion. That's the only remedy I'm looking at, total inclusion. Now, let us not at the same time bring about bias as women. We are also promoting bias as women. How are we promoting bias? If we are looking at total inclusion, are we able to participatively or to attain equal participation as well as men? When we talk of taxation as one thing that can help us to achieve what we want to achieve, like we want tax-free or tax incentives as women, in the short term, it can be attained. But in the long run, economically, as an economist, I see it as a detriment. So what are we looking at instead of these many, many incentives? Are we able to embrace challenges as moving, as engines to attaining what we want? Honorable talked about taxation, but I would want, in case of this time, we can digest the issue of taxation vis-a-vis economic implications. I think some of those incentives are not necessary at the moment. Thank you so much.
We'll bring that up when we have the panelists who are going to talk about taxation. So thank you so much. And for what I think in your training, you need more of these guys because they also need to be trained for them to have a mindset. So I'm back to Maggie.
Hello? Okay. Yes. Yes, NPA was just happy, but thank you very much. And yes, NPA wasn't there many, many years ago. The ones I was talking about, they came on board and we appreciate that good planning. I think at that time we had the Poverty Eradication Action Plan. Yeah. Taxation, Uganda Revenue Authority is of course going to speak, but it is, you really need, as a business person, to understand taxation. That's the first thing. What do you have to pay for, and what don't you have to pay for? I hear farmers, they've just started, they planted some coffee, but URA came to collect money. How? You have not got a single bin, you have not sold it. How are they collecting? Somebody told me, but they cook cakes, just a few cakes, small person, and URA. What is URA thinking? They are the ones who are being misled. It's you to know what taxation do I pay. So it's very important, the training, the URA. They have a women's desk. Go talk to them. They're very, very willing to assist you. There are taxes that you don't have to pay. Incubation is one method, but agriculture, that is difficult because incubation needs you to be in kind of a house. We have a number of incubators now. Uganda Industrial Research Institute, our women entrepreneurs are putting up one, even Enterprise Uganda. So there will be a number of incubators, but they are not particularly suitable for agriculture. Agriculture, you need to be trained differently, either on the farm or, like they did up here in Kololo on that what was there last weekend, very, very nice. Harvest money, that kind of thing. And also be given the right seed. And it really is basically the basic steps for business are the same. Have you got information? Don't just rush. Have you got savings? If you're going to feed a pig or a chicken for 5 months and it's just eating, it hasn't given you an egg, are you ready? So is the business plan there? Have you got the money? So basically it's you to work, get the entrepreneurship skills training from Enterprise Uganda or MOVES or others, and then know the taxation. Honorable from Mubende, I'm happy to meet you. Yes, let's support one another. That is absolutely critical. Africa is struggling with e-commerce. You are so right. In Uganda, we were forced. I think all of us have been forced by COVID. Even if you were not on e-commerce, you are now. You are using mobile money. You are using bits and pieces. So e-commerce is actually a way forward. Airtel right now has a competition. They are showing people who successfully learned to use e-commerce during COVID. We see a number on TV every now and then, and they're having a big competition. And already they have over 100 entries. So Ugandans have been using e-commerce. We have to. We don't have a choice, actually. Yeah. Women with disabilities, same as the next one, the workers, the house workers. These ones have to be really treated differently. And you've worked on some of the laws, the labor laws. There are incentives for hiring, for example, disabled people. But much more needs to be done. Our ladies are really, really suffering. Disability is not a joke, and it's very different. The one who is blind is different from the one who is deaf, is different from the one who is lame, you know? So even if you are at school and you're trying to find a solution to your disabled students, how many extra teachers will you need to cater for all this variety of disabled people? But it's a must. It should be done. So there's no shortcuts to the fact that, you know, disabled should attend school and they should benefit from everything. Health, they should get jobs. We agree. The challenge is how to make it happen. The minimum wage for the workers, the house workers, yeah, for everybody actually. It hasn't been passed yet. It was also going to be very low anyway. It wasn't going to make much difference. The figure they were looking at, I can't remember exactly how much it was, but it was low. 120. Okay. So it's really low anyway, because they don't want to raise it now when people don't have jobs. At least go and get your 120. Maybe you'll get some lunch. Yeah, better than sitting at home and not working at all. The parish money for treatment. I hope the parish model money will be actually kept for what it is, for development, and not for education and health. But yes, if my child is sick, I can't have money in the house and I don't use it. You're absolutely right. So they will need to look at all aspects, as you suggest. Many sub-counties to cover, yes, the ladies, even the parliamentarians, the women representatives, they have huge areas. And even you're telling us that you do the same. Yeah, that is something government needs to look at. And thank you for ensuring babies are kept better at your place of work. Break the bias. Somebody had very many questions. Men on board, yes. Men must be brought on board. I'll stop there. Thank you.
So can we give Maggie a big hand? So now we are going to go to the next session, but as we go, I'll give Leonard a minute to say something as the panelists get ready. So we have 4 people.
Thank you very much, Prof. and Patricia. I think one of the things we need to be thinking about now, going forward, is data. We need very analytical systems that capture data from that woman in the LC1 upwards. To that women's center, we should have a data center in it that should generate information we can use for these discussions. Because without data, we give our concerns, but the people who are taking decisions are better convinced. And I have done this. We have developed a system actually for cooperatives, and we have found that it is only when we raise the figures, the percent, the pie charts, and show the cooperative that in your cooperative that you have been telling us there are women active, women only 1% of your membership. Because we could produce the data and show the leaders that they start recruiting now women into their cooperative. So we need systems that build data, and particularly we can have a discussion because there's a protocol, the COP profiler we have developed, which can be used for any illustration, for any groups and community groups, which we could begin to think about. I think there is importance that we must come to the table with facts and figures that we can defend. Thank you.
So thank you, Leonard. Now, members, we are going to our second part of the meeting, and we have distinguished panelists who are going to come and talk to us about some of the new areas. We have somebody from Uganda Investment Authority. No. Uganda Revenue Authority. Ms. Caroline Karunji. Please take a seat. Take a hot seat. Mr. Emmanuel Katamba, planner from National Planning Authority. So Caroline, as she takes her seat, is a senior tax officer at the Uganda Revenue Authority. And as somebody who is in a senior position, she'll be able to share with us some of the gender responsiveness and of the tax policies. So Mr. Kabanda is a planner from the National Planning Authority. He will talk to us about what the authority is doing to ensure that government mainstreams gender. Take a hot seat, please. Emmanuel Katumba, sorry for that. Madam Faith Imbabazi from PPDA. Faith, take your seat. Faith is a senior research officer from the Public Procurement and Disposable Authority. So a lot of issues in terms of procurement, what they're doing to ensure that women can procure or participate in public procurement. And lastly, Ms. Sandra Retio. This is an entrepreneur who is going to share with us. Sandra is a founder and CEO of Perere Group. She's a businesswoman who will discuss with us the context and challenges faced by women in business. This is a young lady, and she'll be adding on to what Maggie has shared in terms of the challenges. So thank you very much, panelists, for taking up your hot seats. Each of you will have initially 9 minutes. I'll be giving you a few questions. I hope you already have those copies of those questions that you talk to us. Then as you wind up, we shall have 2 minutes each in terms of sharing what are some of those policies that you're coming up with from your institutions to ensure that you're going to support the empowerment of women. I want to begin with the tax authority. Like Maggie said, you're not something that is very lovable to women who want to be empowered. So we shall begin with you, Caroline. I want for you to share with us some of the good things you're doing at URA. But I'll just begin by saying that we know that our tax GDP ratio is still very low compared to other countries in the region. And we're trying very hard to ensure that we actually raise that ratio for government to be able to get enough money to spend. Having said that, we want you to tax, but also keeping at the back of your mind that the population is not homogeneous. So we have the domestic revenue mobilization strategy. So do you think it's gender responsive? Is it? Looking at issues of inequality between men and women. Can you share with us what is in that strategy that the authority is going to implement to ensure that as you mobilize more resources, you don't marginalize further people who are disadvantaged, especially the women? So you can begin with that. I'll give you another 2 questions later.
All right, thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope we are all well today. I am Caroline Karonji, representing the Commissioner Domestic Taxes. I serve in the Large Taxpayers Office as the manager in charge of compliance. I am really happy to be here, and I recognize the honorable members of Parliament, the Executive Director, Chair, and Chair of FOODE, and all ladies and gentlemen present. Thank you very much, Chair, for that question. Yes, as the URA, there are a number of strategies and initiatives that have been put in place, and largely, it has been noted that women tend to be more compliant. Women tend to want to declare and pay their taxes duly as and when they fall due. And so, as the URA in the domestic resource mobilization strategy, we have looked at empowering women. Yes, we have realized that a number of women are in the informal sector. A number of women, because of the responsibilities that we have, as women, we needed to bring services closer to the people. And so one of the initiatives was the IFRIS, and currently we have brought in the electronic fiscal devices. And what do these do? They help all businesses, but now because the women are largely in the informal sector, they will help you to keep track of your business. For example, a number of us are here, but you would be able to know what is happening in your business, which sales have been made, for example, which purchases are being made using your TIN, yes, and so that, I think, helps the woman in business to know what is happening. We realized that a number of challenges that we faced as women, but also on the bigger spectrum, is record keeping. And we all know that once you do not have records, it becomes difficult for you to know what is due from you as a person, what you're supposed to pay, okay? And so that's why this IFRIS, and now it's specifically the EFDs, the electronic fiscal devices, that are going to help people who do not have access or who are not able to maintain records properly. The IFRIS is in different parts. I've talked about the electronic fiscal devices, but there are also the online platforms. But for people who are not able to access the online platforms, possibly because of the illiteracy challenges, then you have these gadgets. They are a bit smaller, more or less like a phone, and so you're able to track your sales and your records. And so that is what is happening with the DRMS. We also have in the DRMS initiatives on the digital tracking solutions or the digital tax stamps. And this is now for businesses that have items that should be using the DTS. This also shows you how much has been produced, and these are for the manufacturers and importers of certain items. And so you're able to track what is happening in your business in terms of what is being produced and at what point or at what time it is being produced. And so the URA is also looking at different strategies in terms of bringing services closer to the people. We have a number of tax catalysts, I believe, that have been seen by some of you here. And we move to different places, different villages, different parishes, and this is to educate people. We have realized that access to information has been a challenge for many people. And so you find that when you go to, say, visit a client, they will tell you that they do not know, they didn't know about this. So as the URA, we have gone to educating taxpayers. Previously, we would call, although we still do it, but now we have said, let's go out, because these women are in the markets. They cannot leave the stall, okay? Or others have to tend to their children. They may not go so far away. So what we have done is come closer to the people. So we have tax catalysts in different areas, in the towns, and we currently have a bus. It is dubbed to Jenge, and it is also reaching out to the people. We help with the registrations so that the registration is done there and then. And we have also partnered with different organizations, and this is where we have come together with KCCA, URSB, so that when a person has come to register their business, for example, the URA is also there to support them to register and obtain their TINs. I thank you. I thank you, Chair.
Talking about, for example, the online platforms. What does it mean for a woman who has a capability phone, or a woman who is illiterate? What extra have you done to ensure that actually those women who are actually the majority benefit?
Thank you. The IFRIS is the Electronic Fiscal Receipting and Invoicing System. And this is an initiative in the DRMS largely to support women and support those in business to keep records very well. We realize that when you go out to the client, you find that they do not have records. All the sales books that they write in were lost, yeah? And so this is one of the initiatives that we brought in place. And to help those who are illiterate or those who have the capability, still within the IFRIS, we have the EFDs, which I talked about, the gadgets, the electronic fiscal devices, just like some of those that you see in supermarkets, the cash registers. It is something similar, but now it is smaller. And so you can use it and punch in. When you make a sale, you're able to keep track of your records. And that is the electronic fiscal device that is currently available to all clients and to everybody in the country. And for the mobile phone capability, still within the IFRIS, there is an avenue for use. There is an avenue for using a mobile phone, and that is why I use the USSD codes. Like how you're buying mobile money, you're able to type in the code and then proceed and issue an invoice. And that helps you as the business person to keep track of how much, for example, you have sold in a day, which was not possible before because people were not able to keep records. They would merely sell without keeping track of what they have sold. And when the URA would approach this person to possibly raise an assessment, they're not able to tell how much they have sold. But also for the smaller businesses, yes, the informal sector, there are things like the presumptive tax, which I think we shall be coming to, that is there to support them. Because many of the initiatives, yes, at the URA have been but the presumptive tax regime supports the informal sector. They are able to pay taxes without going into the very, the nitty-gritties and the details. They're able to quickly just go on the portal and then generate a payment registration slip and then pay. And also the payments have been put through mobile money. A person can pay through mobile money, whereas initially it was directly to a bank. And before that also you had to specify a bank. But now when you generate a payment, you can easily move to any bank and make your payment. Thank you.
People are complaining that in a number of times, if you really get somebody who pays the normal tax after the official assessment, actually effectively you pay less than somebody where people assume this is the tax you are supposed to pay. So do you think that actually women are marginalized when you use presumptive taxes?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. The presumptive tax regime was brought in support again for women and those in the informal sector, especially the very smaller ones. And there is a threshold to it. And this was because of the cry of the people that the systems you have are a bit complicated. We are not able to file our returns the way you want them to be filed, for example. And so we sat down as the URA together with different counterparts, NETAU and the rest, and came up with something that is simple for the person, even at the grassroots. Okay, you're able to tell, for example, I'm a hair salon person. I'm in a trading center, say in Charlie Wajala. I will pay, my salon is this small and this is what I normally get. I get certain million or I get 15 million in a year. So then the tax rate is applied and you're paying 300,000 or 200,000 for the whole year as your taxes. And so that simplified the tax declaration for this person. And I believe we are making further strides in making it even simpler by bringing on board things like the EFDs and also helping people to pay their taxes through mobile money and also educating them, because we have noticed that if you do not educate a person, they will not be able to know how much they should be paying or when they should be paying it. And so we try to eliminate the part where we have to raise the assessments, but rather encourage voluntary compliance. Thank you.
The last question, it is said that usually if you use women, they may handle the women better because they understand them better. So URA as an institution, do you think you are gender responsive in terms of staffing for you to be able to meaningfully reach out and address issues of women?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as the URA, we have gone a long way in bringing women to the round table, and more so to the board. At the URA, the women are represented in large numbers. We have, for example, at the senior management level, 45% of the members on the senior management level are women, and these have been across all the departments. And I believe that as the URA, we are making strides to reaching out to women, but also encouraging those that say should apply for such positions, encourage them to come forth. We have also seen, as a number of us participants here have mentioned, that confidence is lacking, and it's what is hindering women participation at different in government and also in leadership. And I'm glad that the Forum for Women Democracy has come forth and come out to the people to empower us as women, because we need to be confident in who we are, in what we can do, and know that we can add value. Yes, as the URA, and generally, about 44% of all staff now generally are women. So as the URA, there are greater strides, yes, to bringing women into this space.
Thank you very much. Can we give Carol a hand as I call in? I'm going to begin with the new areas, the areas of interest. So now I'm going to go to PPDA, Public Procurement. Faith. Thank you for coming. We all know that government is the biggest organization for making procurements, And we know that if women can actually participate in public procurement, they would benefit a lot. So what are some of the things you are putting in place in terms of strategies to ensure that women participate in public procurement? Faith.
Take up. And at the PPDA, maybe before I go into the strategy, at the PPDA we conducted a research in 2017. And this research was basically to study what are the barriers that are hindering women from participating in public procurement. And there were a number of findings. One of them was the issue of knowledge. Women do not even know where these opportunities are, how to access these opportunities, whether the opportunities are there. The other one was women do not know how to prepare responsive bids. Even those that try to participate, they are just eliminated from the eligibility part. They do not go further in. The others were issues, of course, of finances, adequate finances, issues of technical capacity. We all know what the public opportunities that are there. There are certain requirements that are set. And we realized that is why women are not participating. There was another issue of the framework, the policies that are not supportive of the women. That was the study that we did in 2017. I needed to start with those findings because it's those findings that inform our strategies in promoting women in participation. So what are some of the few strategies? The PPDA Act has been amended. On 1st July 2021, this Act was amended and it came into force. And one of the new areas, there is a section in the PPDA Act, Section 61, that provides for social inclusion. And following that, we now develop regulations on preference and reservation schemes. Key to note, we've always had preference and reservation schemes. These preference and reservation schemes were intended to promote the local companies. I think we are all familiar with that. So now we have gone on notch higher. We want to also promote women. So we've drafted regulations of preference and reservation schemes. And maybe to just explain these two keywords. Preference means that you add a margin of preference. You all participate, but when it comes to that, maybe if it will be preference scheme on women, if it comes to the women-owned business, you add a margin of preference to favor them to win, to be the best evaluated bidder. But reservation schemes is exclusive reservation. It means if we have said this procurement, the reservation scheme will apply this procurement, and we have reserved it to women-owned businesses. It means that for that specific procurement, only women-owned businesses will participate. So that is what a reservation scheme means. And we've been on this journey. We've tried it for the local companies, so we want to do it also for the women-owned businesses. So that was one of the key strategies, the one for providing for it in the law. The other one is trainings. We've conducted a number of trainings, and we we've had support from the UN Women, training only women-owned businesses. And these trainings, we've worked together with other institutions. We've done these trainings, I think, for over 800 women, and in 7 districts in the country. And how we have done these trainings, we go along with URA, we go along with URSP, so that as we address the issues of procurement, someone addresses the issues of taxes, another one addresses the issues of registration. I forgot to mention one of the key barriers that we realized is women-owned businesses are not registered. Even the registration of the register of providers. We know that if you're registered with the register of providers, there's visibility for your business. If an entity in a certain district is searching who provides, let's say who is in construction, and they search, let's say they wanted to favor a woman. If you're not on the register of providers, you will miss out. So it's through these engagements that we've had to advocate and encourage women to register on the register, the PPD register of providers. And so in these engagements, we've been able to train women specifically on how to prepare responsive bids. That was the key topic. And how to access procurement opportunities. And we received very good feedback from the women. And it is true that the women-owned businesses had no idea on some of these things, and therefore it was due to them, and it was good to learn. And we intend to do more of this. Another strategy is collaborations. I've already talked about working with your WIL, and you are working with URA and UNBS. We have a collaboration with the Uganda Women Entrepreneurs Associations. We're working together. They help us identify these women in business, and for us, we do the capacity building. The finance institutions, currently there's an MOU that is being signed with DFCU, and we want to go and tap into, they work together. As they present the finance packages, we also talk about public procurement, and we increase the knowledge in that area. So those are some of the strategies that we have done to prepare. But there's another key strategy that we are yet to do, profiling. As someone talked about the issue of research. If we are to benefit from the reservation scheme, it's important, and this we shall have to work together to profile where do the women-owned businesses have capacity. Because if we are to have these affirmative actions in place, that means they will work. We shall apply them where we feel the women can participate. Please note, where we are heading is for the women to equally compete with the men, isn't it? But as we are going there, just like the 1.5 point was put for us, I think I'm a beneficiary of that 1.5. That's the same way we want to put this profiling, that we first say, let us identify, is it in IT services, is it in construction? So which procurements do we reserve? Because we can't reserve all the procurements. We have to start from somewhere. Thank you.
To this section on social inclusion, where I think you're leaving 30% for the vulnerable groups, but our worry is, you've said you're leaving 30% for all the vulnerable groups. The women, the youth, the elderly, the persons with disability. We are worried. We are not so sure that actually you are reserving it for women. What's your comment?
Okay, so this 30%, and that's why I wanted to give us a background, that we started from promoting the local companies. Now I want to see how women, there's an advantage for women. Women are in the local companies. We have that. Now we have set up at 30% for women, youth, and the disabled groups. There are women in all these groups. I don't see why we are worried. But what we are saying, the opportunity is in reservation. And please note, that is minimum, that is at least The opportunity is in profiling, and we reserve contracts. If we identify that women can take up maybe construction, why not? Why not reserve that opportunity? Now, I want to give us an example. We are trying to promote local companies. I'm just giving an example, and for us maybe to learn from as women. And we said local companies for a road 45 billion and below. We want local companies to participate. So let's only local companies compete. And we are still having challenges. You see? That's why I'm saying we have to start from somewhere. So that our goal is for the women to compete with the men. Please note, even that 30%, there are some women who are not interested in the 30%. I will give an example. The women that Dr. Chigozi mentioned, I don't think for them they are interested in the 30%. For them, they will compete for the high value procurement. But this 30% is like affirmative action to build your capacity, and after a certain stage, you start competing with everyone. I hope that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faith. Can we give a hand to Faith? New name? Mr. Katumba.
Yes.
Tell us what you're doing through the National Development Plan 3 in terms of ensuring that you address issues of gender inequality. What is it that is for us in that plan?
Thank you very much, moderator. First of all, before I present what is from National Planning Authority, allow me thank the forwarder for inviting us so that we can share what we have. As you can see, the House, almost 95% are women. Before I even go to what we are doing, that is enough to show you that we are already there. That would attract a hand clap, by the way. Yes, Dr. Mag is not here, but in the past, you would not have what you have today. So, first and foremost, National Planning Authority is there by law. The NP Act of 2002 gives us mandate to exist and do that work. We are here today to discuss the country's thoughts and strategies in the empowerment of women, more specifically the economic one. But allow me, before I put that across, to thank the government of Uganda for all the interventions that it has put across to bring that woman from where she was hidden behind the house, behind the curtains, to the present today front line. Government, thank you very much. As I said, and as I may always refer to some of the speakers in the House, Dr. Maggie spoke here, even the executive director of this great institution spoke. Government has done a lot per mandate. To start with, after being established by law, we used that platform to develop the Vision 2040. If you've not interacted with this, please, you better do, because you lead the women with a great focus. A lot is talked about here, and I can see the executive director, Patricia, nodding in appreciation of the work that was developed here. What is significant in the Vision 2040, first of all, whose vision statement is transforming the Ugandan society from a peasant to a modern, prosperous country within 30 years. And when we talk about Ugandans, the greatest population of the country, don't forget, are what? Are women. And so we are there. The vision is emphatic on gender equality and empowerment. At all levels, we want to see gender flowing. Even on your smallest village there, you must be gender responsive. We are also saying women must be equal to men before the law. Don't say, you see now this one is no, the law is the law and everybody must be equal before it. We are also saying let gender mainstreaming be at all levels. And the National Planning Authority here is empowered still by law to ensure that all the budgeting, all the frameworks to do with the resource allocation at all levels from the lowest to the highest in the country respond to gender. So we are there. We are also saying we are not operating from space. We are operating from the context of the world. All we are doing on gender is anchored from the international legal framework to which Uganda is a party. When you look at the UN, and I know some of the women who have traveled here, you are aware of the Beijing platform, which emphasizes gender equality. You have also interacted with the development agenda. Agenda number 5 is emphasizing the empowerment of women and the girl child. So as National Planning Authority, we are also using the Constitution, which is emphasizing gender equality and the placement of women at all levels. And here I must thank you, women, and congratulate you as well for the achievements in this country. Before we go to the economics, you must have people there to advocate for you. As you are aware, women, we had the very first vice president here, and she did what she did. Now we are having the second one. Who has ever dreamt of this? Who has ever dreamt of this? So we are having the second vice president. What does that mean? Increase the lobbying for the position of the woman in all aspects of life. Education, governance, health, mention them. I'm also congratulating you. You are having the first prime minister, head of government business. What are you talking about? So you were there, you were on the table. Before that, you were under the table. So now we are going to economics, but I wanted to give you the background of this so that we can get to economics better. The Magic goes your way. We are also saying that in this struggle, we have special targets that these documents are looking at. By the way, you should be also informed that all the development plans and operations of this Chisanja, Hakuna Mchezo, are anchored in the provisions of the National Development Plan 3, which copy I have here. And I also give copies at the end of the presentation in case you did not get a copy, so that as you are fighting for the women's rights, you know where you originate your fight. We are also saying, before I come to the economic part, for us to have women competitively exist where we want them to be, they must be skilled. So the development plan is saying, can we skill the women 100%? This is when you'll have the bargaining power. This is when you'll have the voice to stand when you're empowered. Short of that, then we shall be hitting a nail in our foot. So we must have the women skilled. We are also saying, can we eliminate all harmful forms of social practices, such as the female genital mutilation, the gender-based violence, because these ones dwell us, they take us back. As you want the women to go to the front, somebody is busy beating her not to go there. So still, you'll be fighting against yourself if you don't fight such. We are also saying, can we advocate for universal health insurance so that the women are catered for? You see, in this world, in the world of sickness, it is the women who suffer most. Even when your child is sick, you go to the hospital, the guy goes back home. You remain there. So if you have an enterprise as a lady, then you will not be performing. And at the end of it all, business will collapse. We are also saying, can we put a lot of energy in programs that specifically target the women? Here we are saying, we had the Myoga program. Women we are talked about. Now we are having the parish development model. And we are saying, women, to start with, they must get the 30%. Hope you are aware of the figures. Women, you are aware of the figures. I had a development officer from Chibuku. We've given women 30%. And we are now saying, the program is good, but let the implementers please help the government to implement it well. Affirmative action. You cannot talk about women and you don't talk about affirmative action. At all levels. My sister has talked about affirmative action in the PD. She has also talked about it. The NDP3 is also saying we must, and it's the way to go. So ensure that the women are vividly seen so that things can be moved. Interventions are still progressing, but we are looking at gender equality and we are saying a lot should be done. Have we achieved anything as we speak? The question is, the answer is yes, we have achieved. As I said, women are now being represented at all levels. We also have affordable financing in the private sector, foundation. In the Ministry of Finance, there is some money which is allocated to the small, medium enterprises, and the women still have a serious percentage there. We are also saying, let us implement the Uganda Gender Policy Action Plan. You should implement this because it has a lot. It talks about as far as women are concerned. We are also saying, let us develop and implement a framework for institutionalizing talent identification and the development for professionalism in the sports industry. Are you aware that we have so many women who are good at sports, but their talents are not yet tapped? That is economy already. If you were vigilant and you saw what happened in Kololo, was it Cherengat? On return from there, she earned a lot of money. So you were represented, and we are saying, if she puts it to good use, she will employ very many people. So it is a successful story, only that, of course, challenges still prevail. We have challenges and bottlenecks that are taking us backward in this struggle. What are we now saying furthermore? We are saying, can we have community sensitization for mindset change? There are women up there, even when the programs are put to target them, they are still in the other world of saying, for us we are comfortable in our zone. So we are saying, can we have community mobilization so that we can have the minds changed? We are also saying, can we have agenda-sensitive budgeting and appropriation? I've heard people from local government. It's where we hear a lot of segregation. Please, the policy is very clear. Be gender-sensitive as you are planning, as you are budgeting, and as you appropriate funds. Then we are also giving a recommendation. Can we have more research? Can we have more research on women issues so that we can have better interventions? Don't only have negative energies. It is unfortunate. Wherever you go in workshops, people are exerting a lot of negative energies as opposed to being supportive of what is being done. Lastly, for women to compete favorably in this very hot and hostile environment, we are saying, can we also investigate and prosecute people who are going against these programs. Like the honorable mentioned somebody, the lady in Kawempe there who said, forgive the man. Now you see. But then others will not learn. Can we fully prosecute such people? And as you are aware, some of the money that is intended for women, the corruption is also taking it. Can we prosecute these people to the bone marrow so that this money is safeguarded? I beg to submit.
So thank you, Mr. I want to get the name right this time. Mr. Katumba. And as a rejoinder, I want to call in Sandra. Now, Sandra, you've heard what he said. You are a woman entrepreneur, a young one at that. So whatever he has said, is it going to address your issues? Do you think those things would address the challenges that you are faced with as a woman entrepreneur? Sandra.
All right. Thank you so much for inviting me here. My name is Sandra Letio. I happen to be the founder and also the managing director for Pelere Group Limited. Pelere Group is a manufacturing entity. We work with smallholder farmers in the shea nut or shea fruit belt, where we are able to buy from them, provide them with a ready market, but also process this to different products, like the products which are behind there. Be able to look at some of the products. I use them for my skin, for my hair, and yes, that's what we basically do. And being a young woman, but also starting out business from scratch, and in Uganda, it's easier to say it here, I know, and I know our government has done the very best, because when I started business in 2012, the environment was even worse. That a local investor at that time was not looked at as someone very important. And seeing the development up to now, I think we have an improvement that is going on. I started business from scratch. I started with about 30,000 when I started back then. And I've grown a business now that employs over 25 people. I pay taxes, and also I work with smallholder farmers. So it's a huge business now. But going through all these processes that I've mentioned here is not something easy for a woman, especially because some of these processes, just like he mentioned, there is also corruption involved, there are kickbacks involved. But as a woman, one of the things I've learned is not to give up. Wherever they ask you to carry a chair, you carry along the chair, even if you're not invited. I think those are some of the things I've been able to practice. But the business environment is not that easy in Uganda for a woman up to now yet. Just like the way Maggie said, Dr. Maggie said, like if you look at the money was talking about, the access, even right now the recovery money which is out there, I so much believe there are still few ladies who have accessed this money. She gave us statistics of about 9% of the women are able to access loans, simply because they do not have the collateral involved to be able to access most of this money, and simply because we have a policy that was put there that you're not able to access money without a collateral. So some of those hindrances are part of where women find it very hard to work. Yes.
So Mr. Katumba.
Yes, madam.
You've heard Sandra still has issues. You've achieved a lot, but there's still a lot of challenges that they are facing as women entrepreneurs, and there's a long way to go. I want to wind up the discussion and open the floor for questions. And maybe let me open it up, you wind up later. So now, members, it's our turn. It's our turn to fire.
And we are ready to be fired.
Can we have the mics again? What is my lady? As she comes and gets the mic, let me begin from mine.
Thank you very much, Chair and the panelists. Mine goes to Mr. Katumba. We've had the mandate of the National Planning Authority, yes, and we commend government for the so many documents like the NDP3 and the programs to bridge the gender gap. Now, you talked about tapping into talent for sports, for women especially. But I'm wondering, how many stadiums do we have in this country, the national ones, in order to promote that? A small community in Luero has been promoting health insurance model for quite long. They have something called Munomo Bulwadde, and it is working very, very well. I'm just asking, how have you planned for its practicability as a government? And lastly, we appreciate the poverty alleviation models from the Ntandikwa. That one happened when I was quite a young person, and the ones that have been following year after year. Now, the other ones have almost been failing. We have had some unpalatable information about the Myoga. How sure are we that the parish model is well planned? Has there been any training in the community where I live? There are complaints already. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Margaret, and thank you to our esteemed panelists for sharing with us that information. Actually, Mr. Katumba, I'm a bit disappointed because I expected that you would come and give us what NPA has done towards the advancement of women's economic empowerment. But you spoke quite generally. And for me, I lost focus on what to focus on with you in terms of NPA, because I thought you'd give us much more than giving us the usual rhetoric that we are always accustomed to. But either way, thank you for the information and for drilling it in that the government of Uganda brought women from the back, in the kitchen, behind the curtains, as you ably termed it, to the frontier. Now the question is, now that you have those women in the front lines, what are you using them for? How is the positioning that they have had translating into the livelihoods, improved livelihoods of the ordinary women and girls? And I would really beg that you focus on the NPA. How are you planning for those women and for women generally? Thank you. Caroline, I really want to thank you. I think for me, you just gave us very broad figures when it came to the women leadership in URA. And I would have wanted you to pick maybe about 5 examples, and you said in the board, we have this number of board members, this number are women, this number are men. That would have given us a more clearer picture to rate URA as whether they are more gender responsive in their allocation of leadership or not. Otherwise, my goal remains, how is URA definitely getting the local woman on board? Because most of the initiatives you speak about, the new areas, are more or less more technical, more tech savvy. And I'm wondering how my ordinary woman in Binikira gets to understand this technology to the benefit of her. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm Silas once more. Quickly, person from PPDA talked about preferential, that one, reservation, that is scheme. I need a comment from you in regards to quality. Does they did compromise quality? Because if you are just going to award marks because somebody is a woman, what happens? Probably you have some wisdom to add to mine. Two, let me go to the person of URA. I expected to hear something around regional trade. We are in EAC, and just yesterday also we brought on board DR Congo. But I would love you to tell us how you are supporting the women to cross our borders and go and trade. But you never touched anything around that. You concentrated on issues of the team numbers because I know you are interested in picking taxes from women. So what is it that you are doing to help our women in regional trade? To the person of NPA, when I look through your mandate, it's so huge. It even includes impact assessments of the policies. But you never touched anything about that. So we would have loved you to go in depth, analyze your work, and give us your work, what you have done so far, clearly. For instance, you touched on the issues of sports. We have netballers. Uganda has the secret. How much money do you give them? Through your plan, what did you do? Most times they try to go out to compete. They are struggling. Sometimes members of parliament are struggling even to contribute money to buy for them an outdated bus. Yet NPA is here. What are you doing to fulfill your mandate as NPA? Or you are just the people taking away salary? Nothing. So I'm not saying that you as you, but I'm saying you as NPA. Wake up and work. The women are waiting. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Abdul Jen Kapito, and I'm the woman member of parliament for Pakwach district, as well as the deputy chairperson, Committee of Finance, Parliament of Uganda. I want to, first of all, commend Forward this workshop, especially now that we are around the period of budgeting. I want to thank URA for your comments, but my general observation is that what you gave us today is really probably not for the category that Forward is dealing with. And I wanted you to, I thought you would come out clear and tell the country today that whereas URA is mandated for mobilization and collection of domestic revenue, again, for the local governments, because our economy is run in such a way that we have the central and the local governments are responsible for coming up with the different levies, fees, and what have you. So sometimes I keep wondering, what is the role of URA in, say, in a cow market? URA collects taxes that has been processed and passed by Parliament of Uganda. You are implementers. You are not the one who imposes the taxes on the people of Uganda. The same with the ones who collect, it is Minister of Finance that are policy makers. So I thought you would deviate from that and say, whereas the women could be complaining ABC about presumptive tax, the challenges are here, the gaps are here, so that the other stakeholders do their part. It is not the mandate of URA to train different entrepreneurs to keep their books right. But now you are even going to do what is not in your mandate. Probably that's why we have leakages in revenue collection. I would want this to come out clear, as now that we are soon receiving tax bills. Is it URA that assesses the women, say in Akawa, in a Pakwach market, who are selling tomatoes? When you are talking about, I don't know, taking your education to the Qatari, what are you doing there? What are local governments doing? What are their roles? But I want to thank you, and I want to encourage you to do more tax education. Because when we were meeting URA recently, members, URA has even gone ahead, like at Malaba and Busia, and put a women's desk. Sometimes because we are so accustomed to doing business the way we want to do, you find that whereas the women in Malaba or Busia, will not be paying through, under the desk and what have you. If they went straight to the URI offices, they end up paying so much because there's a threshold to which you are assessed and you have to pay tax. So that one we need to do more to educate our people that please, paying tax is not bad. You may even not be the category to pay. That is one. And then when you are talking about those electronic mechanisms that you have come up with, I think that may not work with the little vendors and what have you. But I want you to tell Ugandans, especially members of parliament, for me now when I walk to a supermarket, you give me a receipt which is not, what is it? I don't accept. Because let me pay the tax so that the roads in my district can be done. So that water can be, the service deliveries can be given to our people. Taxation is not bad. World over, we must pay taxes if we are going to avoid borrowing. And I think all these electronic devices that URA is putting in place is to avoid leakages. If we avoided that, if we supported URA in that, I think we could be able to collect much more and borrow less. Now, coming to NPA, which my committee again supervises, and I'm happy that you have presented this when I'm here. At the committee level, we shall grill you more than we are going to do now. Because the question was, how is NPA, the strategy NPA is trying to use to include women, to get women out of the social burden, the economic burden? But he told us general things that I would tell my electorate in order to vote me again. When you're talking about talent, we would want to know in your NDP 3, which I may know, not everybody may know, everybody needs out to you there. How have you planned to tap these talents of Ugandans, especially girls? I held my Women's Day on the 18th. I can assure you the kind of football the women played, I could not believe it. I could not believe it. Women market vendors played against the civil servants. It was amazing. It made me start to think of my planning of how to support sports in my district differently. I was only looking at the young youth, the men. So if you realize that there are such talents, there are dramatists very good out there. We have so many people educated, but the market cannot take all of them to employ them. Why can't you as planners begin to think that yes, not everybody will get the blue-collared or white-collared job? That is, do you have the statistics? You know how many women teams are in each district so that you can plan for them. That's what we wanted to hear. But when you're telling us how they have brought us out of smoke in the kitchen and what, that one we are aware. And we thank the His Excellency, the President, for it. So, thank you for that. But I want to commend PPDA. We processed that bill. I was part of it. But I am happy, and I want to encourage you as PPDA to educate Ugandans more about that bill. You see, Honorable Silas was with me in the 10th Parliament. Now he's asking you questions as if he never processed the bill. That how whether quality will not be compromised. The processes are there. Through the bidding processes, that will be identified. So please educate Ugandans more, and I'm really happy that you were really, if I was a teacher, I would have given you 80%. But the NPA, don't come and start politicizing issues of planning. You are not an implementer, you are supposed to plan, and you shift the responsibility to the ones who are supposed to implement. I thank you.
We are first covering this. Honorable, they will come to you.
Thank you very much. Once more, my name is Asio Martha, from Amuria District Local Government. I want first of all to thank URA for the new system that you have introduced on tax mobilization and collection. That is the IRA system that has helped reduce the expenditure at source. You know, sometimes when the parish chiefs go to the field and collect this revenue, they also go ahead and spend it at source. And I really want to say thank you very much, because now at least money is collected and the person pays directly to the system. However, the biggest challenge is the network. You'll find that in the village, somebody has the money to pay, but the network keeps disturbing, and you find a person has come maybe more than twice, 3 times, wanting to pay the 20,000 or the 10,000 that he or she is supposed to pay as a tax. The other one is the issue of skilling the women. I was thankful hearing that. When we just began this discussion, I had issues on finance, that the women still have limited access to finance. It is not only farming that women can have the money, but if we could go ahead and skill, I would recommend that for all the looks into this, puts it into consideration and go ahead and skill these women properly. I want to give an example of where I come from, direct Lorungo as a sub-county in Amuria. I have tried skilling some women. They do craft, and I see they're able to save every week they meet. They are not only waiting for farming. Look into the dry season. How are these women able to generate money at household levels? That's basically what I wanted to share with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth Amuge, CDO in Amuria District Local Government. I'm just also going to request NPA. You previously in our plenary were saying that women make 70%. I mean, the 70% of women are involved in agri. Now, I'm wondering what Mr. Katumba in NPA is doing. What plans are there for the women who are involved in agriculture? Like in terms of market access. What have you planned for that rural woman who produces locally? And you know they are middlemen who may not allow their exact price to be given to these women so that they benefit from the works of their hands. How have you planned for that? The other issue is on the mindset change. We are all aware that in the PDM we are emphasizing on mindset change. And one of the key people who are producers down there are the women. And in this country, we have policy makers. I'm very happy and delighted that the likes of my Honorable Silas are in the house. How have we planned to operationalize this issue of mindset change? If some policies are like the agric officers have the motorcycles, what about the CDO? Who is in touch with the groups at the lower level? Has no motorcycle. I beg, please, honorables, take our plea to Parliament that all categories of civil servants who go and interface with the local person be availed the means of transport. It will act as a motivator, and therefore whatever we will go and impart to the people will somehow be permanent in a way, such that at the end of the day, we shall go towards achieving from the subsistence economy to a market economy that we are trying to agitate for in the NPA. Lastly, we have been trying to develop the NDP3 for the national level and at district level. But to my dismay, up to now, the national level has not given us a go-ahead, saying there are certain policies that have not yet been given a go-ahead for us to develop these district plans. So I'm begging that as we go back from here, let's work round backwards and ensure that as we go towards the parish development model, operationalization, we should be having an operational NDP 3. I submit.
So thank you very much. Now to you, Mr. Katumba, and And Carol, just answer, round them up. I don't want you to make another presentation. Round them up in 2 minutes, and then we take the second leg.
Thank you very much, audience. Yes, I think it was right. The minutes given to us, he said you should go to the depth, but you can't go into the depth within just 9 minutes. This huge work, as a member of parliament, you know what is really happening. But all in all, the first question was about the tapping of talents. Of course, you should be aware, and the members of parliament who are here, there has been increased funding of the sports sector. It is not as it was in the past. So that is already recognition based on the plans we've made and the suggestions we've given. So there is an adjustment in the budgeting, in the financial allocation. And in that we are trying to say now, the implementers down, we've put the plan across. Can you use the funds and engage? So the budget of sports today, in the budget of 2021-22, cannot be compared to the budget of 1986. So there is already something done. Then development model. Guidelines have been set. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a responsibility of all Ugandans, not only NPA. NPA does not work in isolation. It works in collaboration with all the MDAs. So you as a Ugandan, you must also go to the ground and see, are the guidelines of the parish development model being followed to the dot? Because they are there. So NPA is in Kampala, and now somebody is in Amuria implementing the parish development model guidelines. And the officers, they are failing to implement in line with the guidelines. Then the NPA is blamed. So I think it's a responsibility of all of us. Because these things are in place. It's a responsibility of all of us. Now we are saying, women, I was accused of saying women are got from the curtains and what? What have we done for them? Now we've said 30% of the parish development model money is for women. You and me, you have a responsibility to enforce this. If it is not enforced, then the blame is to all of us. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have to take up the responsibility and move on. Now that the women are here, what is being done? As NPA, we've put in place the planning framework. We are saying there must be affordable financing. Microfinance center in the Ministry of Finance, please look at this. Ensure that there is money for the women. Let the women access this money. And now you hear my sister. She's saying, much as for her, she has accessed something. There are so many women who have not accessed this, but the service is there. The service is there. Now the accessibility issue is another challenge. So that means NP has done its work. The service is there. How to access is another question. So let all the responsible agencies and ministries do their work because they have the framework to start with. Then we are also saying, let funding be there to these people and let them access it. The guidelines are laid down. Let us follow them to the dot. If they are not followed, that is another question. We are also saying, let there be budget alignment. You already aware, members of parliament who are here, National Planning Authority, according to the Public and Financial Management Act, we are supposed to issue a certificate of compliance before you approve the next budget. We are very conscious at NPA to check, are these people allocating funds in accordance with the guidelines? Are they gender sensitive? Then we shall write and recommend. And then the implementing people are there to do their work. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want people to go with the misconception that at NPA things are not being done. They are done to the dot. What about now the implementers? Lastly, strategies. The strategies are already outlined. What we should do for the women. Any PA will not move and come and say, A, B, C, D, E, F. That is the work of the implementer. We are working as collaborators to see that things are what? Are done. Now here we are. Is it any PA who told you forward to organize? But they know we have to organize something. Yes, we have to organize and create a platform and bring all people on board so that things are done. And now you who has been in this conference, when you go back home, where is your entry point? You must have an entry point through the policy. Because the policy is in place. So you ask, where is me? Where am I positioned in the policy? If I'm positioned at X, and we are talking about skilling women, what advantage, what provisions are there in the district council to do with this? How much money is it? How much money is allocated? The councillors who are here, you have a responsibility to play down there in following up the money for women. Now, if you don't, I should bring this also to your attention. If you don't do as what the guideline says, then NPA, we shall check your reports. And then we shall have to act. Calling upon all the stakeholders to examine and look at compliance. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are doing a good job. And I'm calling upon all Ugandans, first of all, to study the policies well and see what goes where. Examine your position in this and then put into practice. Thank you. I beg to submit.
Faith?
Yes.
Caroline. You didn't have a question. Caroline.
Yes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to respond to some of the questions that have been raised. Honorable Flavia, good to see you, and thank you for your questions. Yes, in the URA, in terms of the absolute numbers, on the overall, we have 1,036 female staff, and the males are 1,540. That brings us to about 45% in terms of the number of staff there, but also different researches have been done on the productivity of these staff, and it has been noted that out of all the staff of URA, the females perform better than their male counterparts in terms of their roles and what they're supposed to do. So I believe that as the URA, we have really gone a long way in closing the gender gap, because previously there used to be few, you'd have a 2 to 10 ratio of the females to males. And you talked about the ordinary woman deep down in the village. How are they able to use these tools? Yes, the tools are largely but like I had mentioned, we have devices which are not necessarily, you do not need the internet. For example, you can use a Kabiriti phone, you can pay your taxes using mobile money, but also in addition to that, we have put offices in the different areas. And so we are trying to reach out to everybody in as far as we can. But the tax catalysts that I talked about were to reach these people, because what they are doing, not all the income, for example, will be chargeable to tax. Okay, and some of them you'd have the presumptive regime that I talked about, where they pay that one payment for the whole year. And so when we are in that place, then this person is able to come to the bus that we have now procured, which goes around with all the equipment set, and they're able to make their payments, and that's it for them for that whole year. So I believe that that covers the gap for this person who is not really literate and not able to use the online systems. Thank you. Honorable Silas, you talked about regional trade, and I may have hinted on it just briefly, but yes, as the URA, we are doing a lot to support the businesses, especially at the border points, to enable cross-border trade as easily as possible. And within the East African community, we have introduced simplified trade regimes, and these are helping all traders, but because we know that there are so many women and they need access to us as the URA, but so that they get out of the informal sectors or the informal trade across the board and not go into using unmarked routes and the like. We have there's the simplified trade regime, and this is helping these people, the women, the taxpayers, to reduce the cost of their formal trade formalities, because they would have to appoint different people to help them make their declarations. But what they do is that when they get to these border points, which have a staff of URA, they are able to help them make their declarations in a quick way, and then they proceed with their trade. And this is for values that are under $2,000. And I believe these are the people that we are looking at, so that we help them continue with their trade, but also comply voluntarily. We don't make it that difficult. But also in this regard, there are a number of items that are exempted, and some they do not attract taxes, and these are items that directly affect the woman. And these are items such as the menstrual cups, the diapers for children, and all these are exempted by the policymakers. And I believe that since many of us are here, as the new bills come in place, we need to look at what actually affects the woman, and is it embedded in the new tax bills. But all the things that directly affect the woman are exempted from the taxes, from VAT, the consumption taxes, VAT, and also import duties at the point of import. URA is also working directly with different organizations. We work directly with Trademark East Africa to ensure that we support small businesses, small-scale businesses, and enable cross-border trade. And I believe you have seen the different offices that have been opened up and made bigger and more accessible to everyone at the different border points. Okay, there's also a question from the Honorable Member of Parliament from Pakwach on the mandate of URA. Yes, the mandate of the URA is to assess, collect, and account for revenues that are collected domestically, and as well as the customs duties. And this is different from the local government fees that are collected in the different markets. And why we come to the points with what we dubbed the tax catalyst and educate these people is that we have got cries and feedback from these people that yes, whereas we want to comply, we do not know what to do. We do not know what you mean. If you need me to keep records, what does that mean? And that's why as the URA, we have gone above and beyond merely coming and assessing you, but to also enable you as the business person to be knowledgeable, to know what you're supposed to do, because we believe that when a person knows what they are supposed to do, how much tax they are supposed to pay, when they are supposed to pay, then we are then encouraging voluntary compliance. And so we will come away from the harsh methods that were used before, where we would just come and lock up, but now we are going further and saying, let's first educate you, let you know what you're supposed to do, and how you're supposed to do it, and when you're supposed to do it. That's why the URA may go ahead and carry out these tax education programs. About network availability, yes, this has also come through to us. Accessibility to network in different places is a bit difficult. And so what we are doing as the URA is working together with NETAU, and this is to enable us have access. Yes, there are places where network it's difficult to obtain, to have access to network. And so our offices are placed in such places so that these people can come to us and are able to make their declarations quickly. I think those were the questions. Thank you so much. Moderator, back to you.
Thanks very much, Carol. Yes. Now, second leg, which is the other side. You are on this end, so you are going to die with your question. So the other one, as she moves, let me give my neighbor here.
Thank you. Thank you, moderator. I wanted to know from URA, I know your mandate is not just about mobilization and collection of domestic revenue, but you're also an advisor to the Minister of Finance. In your opinion, given what we have just gone through as a country, I know we are about to receive tax bills, but we have so many girls that have dropped out of school as a result of COVID, others got pregnant, but there are also those that, start primary 1, by the time they get to P7, senior 4, the number is much less. And one of the reasons research has come out with is that because girls fear to go to school at the time when they are in their menstrual periods. Why would you not advise Minister of Finance to remove tax on pads, sanitary pads? Okay, I think, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate Owode for this very good engagement. And I'm very happy that many stakeholders have been brought on board, the URA, NPA, PPDA, WAPA, and others, including the district councillors. It makes it a very, very important engagement. I was more than encouraged when a female participant at the back introduced herself to be coming from an organization that empowers newly wedded women to remain stress-free from their homes. I think that shows us how far we have gone in empowering women. A lot of initiatives came up by the government and all in the interest of empowering women. We have got so many programs, such as WEP, now the Paris Development Model. So the question now is, how do we make these initiatives? How will women optimize the benefits out of these initiatives like Paris Development Model and WEP? I think NPA, we have got to emphasize capacity development for women, particularly in areas of financial literacy and many aspects of management, so that we are able to realize something out of these initiatives. I also feel it's a high time that our women are exposed to the regional markets. We are in the East African integration, so how do we send our women across borders so that we can also reap what comes from the integration, particularly from the women's side? The URA, I think I thank you for the elaborate presentation, and I also thank you for letting us know the development at the authority, and also letting us know that URA has already achieved a 45% women representation on the senior management level at the URA. But how does that make us break the barriers and make women count at the grassroots? With our poor tax literacy, with no comprehensive tax education, how do we break the barriers? And I think this is also the high time that women benefited from friendly tax regimes for women in development. I think you should take note of all this. National Planning Authority, my brother, thank you for your elaborate presentation. You presented as though you are teaching, and the subject must have been Christian religious education. You expressed excitement over Paris Development Model to the extent that you convinced us a lot that 30% inclusive, the women are to benefit for the 30% inclusiveness in the PDM. But I must tell you and the members who are present here that as legislators, we are not yet excited by the PDM. PDM has never been brought to Parliament for discussion. PDM has got no laws governing its operationalization. It has got completely no laws. And it's bound to suffer the same challenges that faced Emioga. But it's not yet very late.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
I'm called Christine Nakamanya from Luero. I'm the vice chairperson. I would like to ask the representative from NPA about the decentralization that is being taken away from us as local governments. We are finding challenges providing services and bringing them close to the people, because when we collect our local revenue, it is brought to the center, and it really takes time to be brought back to the districts, and at most, the money collected is not brought back. And of course, it affects service delivery. And of course, of recent, we've got a directive from the president that that procurement processes on buildings or constructions shouldn't take place. It is the UPDF brigade that is going to take on those works. And since we got those directives, there's no circular on when they are going to start. And of course, we are closing the financial year. Our women are going to get affected. For example, in the health sector, we were supposed to get a 100-bed maternity in Kamira sub-county. Then we had the construction of staff houses, Boa Health Center 3. We had renovation of Bukalasa Health Center 3, Katikamu Health Center 3. The monies are on the account, but we cannot do any works because the procurement processes were stopped. And of course, they are going to take back the money and we are going to get affected. And those services would benefit our women. We find it a challenge. We find it a challenge to deliver services to our people. What is NPA? And of course, we've got legislators and representatives on the finance committee. We are finding it really a challenge to implement. What is your take on that?
Public finance and money actually provides for this.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Board for putting on this discussion. But I just want to ask and request. I know you are operating in some districts. There are many districts that would benefit so much from what you're doing in Chibuku, in all these other communities. Because a lot of what I see is that the discussions we have here, how much fun it would have been if we were sitting in Chibuku with those women seeing Maggie Chigozi, those women seeing Sarah Opendi, or even seeing Obanga in house. So, is there any chance that we take these discussions from out of the boardrooms and we get into the community where the real problems seem to be? Because most of the women here are empowered to a certain level. What about that woman in the village? The gentleman from the National Planning Authority, you mentioned all these NDP3 programs, and yes, they look good. But I think what I'm seeing in Uganda, in our country, everything looks perfect on paper.
The implementation.
But when it comes to implementation, that is where our problem is. And implementation is not going to happen at NDP offices. Implementation is going to happen with us who actually engage with the communities. The members of parliament, we are the ones supposed to be on the ground overseeing that parish development model actually takes off. So if we ask an officer in the office who never goes to the ground, that's the question. How are we thinking? How are we planning? Who are we looking at? Any success of any activity or program starts with us. I was very proud of the lady who started the baby, I think you mentioned something about doing something about a baby. At her level, she's doing something real, visible. So I think we need to do a a lot more in getting involved in the implementation, and we stop the blame games. Also, the lady from URA, we thank you for what you're doing, but I think Uganda's tax regime is one of the most stifling in the world. We are a very poor community. A lot of people haven't accessed cash yet, and yet the taxes are so high on everything. The fuel in Uganda is one of the highest in the world. The phone, this phone here, how much we spend on the phone is phenomenal. Compare with other economies, well-developed countries, where we allow investors to come in and tax the Ugandan to take care of their taxes to the government. It's the Ugandan taxpayer who is taking care of all these burdens. Everything translates to the ground. Maybe we need to ask ourselves, who can protect the Ugandan from the kind of tax regimes that are on practically everything? But maybe I'll stop there and give others a chance to talk. But thank you so much, guys, for sitting up there. And ladies and gentlemen, let's do our part.
Allow me to thank the panelists for doing a great job. Mine are just two issues. Caroline, in regards, we talked a lot about this IFRIS thing, electric, physical, heating, and invoicing system, and how you go to the market, the women, and the question I ask myself, how easy is it for the woman, the common woman, my grandmother perhaps sell tomatoes in the market, to comprehend these things? And then two, and finally, to my sister, Sandra, the CEO, I want to thank you so much for what you're doing with the Chia nut. And I must say, all my children, I have 4 children, right from birth, the products that I use on them are the products of the Chia nut. And they do magic. And how I wish you can be supported to actually do more. Now the question I have for you, you said you work with so many other people. The question I have for you is, what have you done with the group of people that you work with to see that this precious tree, the Chia tree, is actually protected? Because I come from an area where the trees are very many, but now they are prone to the charcoal business, and many of them are being cut down. And you know this is a tree that actually benefits the woman more. So what is it that you are doing now that you have got your step farm to make sure that these trees are actually protected for future generations and other women also to benefit from it? Thank you so much.
So members, if you haven't spoken, I'll give you a chance, otherwise I'm going to close.
Thank you, Chair. I would first of all want to thank Wade for organizing this wonderful session. I want to also thank the panelists who have taken us through those presentations. I have 2 concerns. One, sometimes back, we used to have adult education literacy on the ground there. Our women, sometimes when they go for a training or a meeting,
they feel shy to put the thumbprint on the paper. So I would request, if possible, we retrieve that project because it was doing a lot of good work. Two, we have talked of parish model. Parish model have come as a programs which government have put on, but we as stakeholders, more so the district councillors, we are not involved in that program. Where are we and who we are in that program? Lastly, I would request, if possible, because passport have come, people have selected the enterprises they are going into, but after doing that enterprises, where to sell them from? I would request, if possible, each sub-county to have a collective center for better marketing to their products. I remain Logos Ruth, district councillor representing Kagum sub-county in the Chibuku district.
Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. Dear panelists, thank you so much. But I have just two things to highlight. One, to URA. You said that you have these Katale addresses that you make, you speak to the traders. I don't know if that's the same thing that we do at the border, because as YASI, we support cross-border traders, women. So the complaints that they have, they don't want to pay taxes, and yet we try to educate them that they should trade formally. That includes paying their taxes. But now when we tell them about issues of TIN, having a TIN number, most of them don't want, because to them, they think when you pay a TIN, you have a TIN number, you're going to pay taxes for the rest of your life, which is not true. So in short, what I'm saying is that information is really not enough out there. And then the other thing is that when you talk of taxes, these traders think everything is URA, and yet the local government also takes taxes from them. So you really need to educate them to know that some taxes are really local government taxes, because it spoils your name. Some of them, when they see that uniform, they run away from you. And then the other issue is to National Planning Authority. We are coming to that point where we are going to be talking budgets, we are going to be talking taxes. I'm just wondering, have you considered the local woman down there at the grassroots, to get their input before you start levying taxes? For example, on issues of mobile money. These women, most of them use mobile money for their executions of businesses. For example, at the Lego, there are no banks. They rely on this mobile money. And yet the taxes are so much. So they decide to keep money, maybe in their houses. When fire cuts the market, everything gets burned down. So my suggestion is that as you plan for the taxes that are going to be levied, because normally taxes are levied every other financial year, there are new taxes which come. So if you could consider the local woman and not to put so much taxes on mobile money, it would be good, because we are here to empower the women. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Atoko Sylvia Damba is my name, from Chibuku District. I work with the Subi Center. It's a girl and women empowerment organization. When my sister Carol said there is a tax waiver on sanitary pads. I just don't want to think or agree with you. We are buying pads at 3,000 and above. I'm not sure where the tax waiver is. I remember about, I think it was around October last year, when I visited an uncle in Kenya, because he has a shop and we were doing a menstrual hygiene campaign. He donated 2 packets of pads, having maybe about 20 or so in them. When I reached the border, sometimes those URA guys are so intimidating. They were so intimidating. Have you paid? Where are the receipts? I told them it's a donation. It was very difficult for me to justify that it was a donation until I had to scroll through my messages to prove to them that we have been running a 2-year campaign on menstrual hygiene. That someone said, no, just let her go. After all, there are even only 2 packets. So if you tell me that you have a waiver, yet it's your people intimidating people at the border, you push me back to the lamentation, which I really would wish to get out of. True, you could be working. Chiboko as a district has no URA office. I've not even met any Katalevan. But then we keep paying the taxes. I would suggest to URA that a lot of tax education needs to be done. The reason there are many escape routes created at the border is not because people want to escape. I would comfortably pay taxes if you are giving back to us. But instead, you milk us a lot more. We are moving on bumpy roads. We are living in hospitals without drugs. Our schools have I think I would say, books that were delivered in the 90s, but we are paying taxes year in, year out. We are paying debts that are accumulating year in, year out. Let's be fair. I get to the planning authority. We have so many projects. It's like they just keep twisting names that have come with very good intentions, but you, the big men and women, have galloped the money. You, the big men and women, have failed the projects. As we speak today, I'm not sure if my DCDO is out of police cells for the parish development model. They were arrested, yes.
Already.
The DCDOs of Palisa, Budaka, some of them are actually on the run. The reason I would support them being imprisoned if only they have eaten the money. But they've not even received the money. The reason they are imprisoned, because at least I had a chance to talk to my DCDO at the police in Budaka. She says I think they were planning to rob government. So they gave in exaggerated invoices and receipts. When I was speaking to a friend yesterday, he was saying they were even demanding them to hand over the carbon copies. If I gave you the carbon copy, then what do I retain? If you've not, true, if I give you exaggerated invoices, deny me the business, push out the corrupt officials, and promote or replace them with those you think could serve better. But if I've not eaten the money, and you're putting me behind bars, my family is suffering, how do you pay for damage? I can't go and compete or sue my superiors because this CDO is employed by the government of Uganda. People are working on pressure. Women empowerment projects at the district levels. They were only given money for one training. You're picking my mother, who has never known about business. You want her to get into a business, but you're giving her one training. That is not enough to address the mindset change. Help me internalize how to calculate my business. Let's try to leave the formal, the educated women in Kampala and localize yourself to that woman in Chibuku who probably did not even have a chance to go to school. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I remain Katoko Sylvia.
Thank you so much. It is my name.
Who?
From Rukunjiri. I thank Powede for inviting these important people. I also want to thank them for the good presentation. My concern is from presentation of Mr. Katumba Emmanuel, MCA. Thanks for the good presentation. You said that the budget of sports has been increased, but I missed to hear it has been increased from what to what.
Yes,
I assume that even local governments are going to benefit. Thank you so much.
I said I don't have the figures here. I don't have the figures. Members of Parliament.
I have only 3 points to make. One is that our local women have small businesses which are informal and they are not registered. And this makes them not benefit from the other businesses which are registered. Just because, maybe because of our CDOs. For example, our CDO was refusing them to register. When they would bring their constitution, he would say, no, it is wrong. Bring this much and I make for you a constitution. And the ladies say, please, you don't know our aims and objectives of our group. How do you make for us a constitution? And the man would chase away the women. That is one of our problems in the village. Another problem that we have cultural biases. Our cultures tend to suppress women so that they don't shoot up in their businesses. They look at a woman as a slave. A good woman is that one who has no money in the pockets. Yes, and things go worse. Even when you find that the LOCs, the what, your brothers-in-laws and what, you know, the woman surely cannot survive in our place. So what do? We need to remove the biases by training or sensitizing the stake leaders and the cultural leaders to know that when a woman has benefited, when she has money, it is for the whole family, it is for the whole Gombora, it is for the whole country. Thank you so much. Because of the time, let me stop here. Otherwise, I had so many.
There are some comments online. We have a comment from Helena Okecho. This goes to Mr. Katumba. The NDP was a great document. However, global development has been significantly disrupted by COVID, and women were particularly hit hard with the COVID effects. Is there a plan to have NDP revised to review or accommodate the effects of COVID-19 on women? That is question one. Question two, but again to Mr. Katumba. But why are women being given 30% in the parish development model and not 50%? When actually women constitute the majority of the people in the population. We want parity. So why do you talk about 30%? That is a question, and these were just comments. I will not read comment. Then the last question online was from George Tumwesije. Georgia Tumwesije. This is to Faith. I'm just wondering, what really holds back women from fully engaging in public procurement? So those are the questions online. So you can answer those ones and then we can close.
Thank you, moderator. At least at this level, we are coming to the understanding that we've planned. You see, we are saying lack of planning is planning to fail. We have done the planning, all right? So let the implementers also do their work. Where you find the gaps, let us engage and then move, because this is our country. Let me start with the online questions. Helena, there is already a review of the NDP 3. If you're observant, it was even put in the newspapers. So we are reviewing how much this program has done and where can we improve. 30% of the parish development model for women. Why is it only 30%? There are other marginalized groups as well. We have the youth, we have the elderly, we have and all other people. So I think for the start, we welcome recommendations. If you so think with the justification that they deserve 50%, put it across for caption. But for the start, it is at that percentage. Excuse me, there are still more here. In a second. I was collecting them from the people. Yes, there is a subject from Rukunjiri. She's talking about the budget increase in sports from what to what. Unfortunately, I don't have the figures offhand. But the members of parliament who are here are already aware that every financial year, there are either budget increase or cuts. So I would simply say maybe we get down to read the figures, but there is always that trend. Florence, culture as an issue. We were already ahead of the issue, and we put the guidelines in place that we have some cultural practices which are hindering women from advancing, and we've put it down. What are we saying? We are saying let women be saved from this so that they can effectively concentrate on household activities. But let me tell you, the recent research we have at NPA, female genital mutilation has increased in the districts where it's being practiced. And the local leaders are happy with it. So many girls have been cut in the local down because you see movement is curtailed. So many young girls have been married off. Then you say NPA. Members, I think we need to do adjustments. So these cultures, these cultural practices, we are also insisting. Local government, all levels, please. Police and others, law enforcement, do your work because we've put the plan in place. Then there is some question also from Katoko. The officers are already arrested. What do the guidelines say? You have to read the guidelines first because the members of parliament allocated the first 17 millions. What were they for? To create a shape up, to train, to even recruit. So some training has been done. If it is not enough, I will be glad to take a point here that can we have increased the funding on the training in the parish model, parish development model activity, so that it can be incorporated in the second round, well aware that we shall review it. We shall review this. How far have we gone from where we started? What do we need to change for the better? Because the program will come and it is your support that will take it to another what? Level. The program cannot be all bad. So I think that is now the vice of corruption. We've also talked about corruption. Investigate and prosecute. We've put it in black and white. So if the people who are supposed to do, don't do, is it a problem of NPA? And sometimes we are even partly to blame. You will find it is your son doing it. Then you go behind, you say, you see RDC, this one is a cadre, this one is what? So you are part of the failure. Then I'm also saying, members, let us engage. Let us consult. I think we can better our country. There is somebody who talked about the parish development model still, that it never went to parliament, it never went where, it never went where. I don't know, there's so many places he wanted it to go. Or it could even reach the shrines. Whatever it is, I don't know how many places he wanted it to go. But here we are, excuse me, here we are, the parish development model has come. Excuse me, let me make my point. Let me first make my point. Just give me a second. The parish development model has come. It is a responsibility of all Ugandans, members of parliament inclusive, to assess it. Where did we go wrong? Where are we? And then we do a plastic surgery on it. But the plan is already there. Yes.
Parliament needs to do oversight.
Yes.
It is one of our responsibilities.
Yes.
And if anybody is flouting a rule of government, the judiciary depends on the law. And I thought that you should have advised the head of state that before we do anything, we need a clear policy. 2, we need a clear law, so that those who flout the rules can be held culpable using a written law. How then do we on earth think that we should wait for things to go wrong, then we'll come back and say, let us correct. We shall engage. We shall do this. We shall be in Hotel Africana. We shall be in Nile Hall. And that helps. So I think NPA is doing a good job, but to do it better.
Aha, I want to hear that.
Learn to listen to Parliament.
Yes.
I can tell you, colleagues and members here, for instance, on the issue of fuel, it was doing wonders. And we as Parliament recommended that it is not proper for us to merge it with the parish development model. But you went ahead and developed a big neck and decided to merge this good baby with the rest of the babies. What a bad kind of culture. So you just disappoint us, the men who are standing with the women. I feel bad. So I really feel that NPS should wake up.
We already awake.
This rhetoric of speaking like you are politicians. Plan so that we go better.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Point noted, and we shall take it on. Logo said? Can I wind up with the logo?
Yes, wind up, and then Carol also winds up.
Yes, there
there are 3 people who are online waiting.
Yes, there was an issue from Madam Nakamanya about the decentralization, especially the appropriation in aid money. The money you first put to the center and then it's returned. We've also realized the shortcomings. In the beginning it worked, but I think a lot is desirable. So I know the lawmakers will make adjustments on this. And we are also writing as NPA our observation in the performance of this. So don't get worried. Uganda is here to stay. We are going to note it very well. I think that is all. That is all. Yeah, there was a last gentleman here who said it was a CRE lesson. But I think it is important for people to have information before they go back to where they live. He also talked much about capacity building. We've already suggested this. He also talked about regional and international access. We are saying the women cannot access these markets. What do we do? Can we empower them, first of all, through education, so that they can have the capacity to engage, and then open up as well? Then the very last, parish development model still from him. We are saying, let us look at the pros and cons of the program, and then address them in the proper way possible. But otherwise, the program is not all bad 100%. There are some good, and now you're observing the bad. Let us have them, and then see a way forward. Thank you very much.
Caroline, you have something to say?
Yes, I have a couple of questions that I would like to respond to. One was on the sanitary pads and items that as women we use, and I would like to inform the participants here present and those online that yes, the tax laws currently provide for sanitary towels and tampons and materials that make these items, and so VAT is not charged on these items, already provided for in the tax laws, as well as the East African Customs Community Management Act. We have also menstrual cups, mama kits, diapers as well, not chargeable to VAT, already provided for in the Act. Unless there are other items that may not have been provided for, then those can be passed through the current bills that will be approved by the Parliament. And there was a remark from Madame Rachel Magola on the tax regime and the taxes being high. And I would like to inform the members present that as the URA, our mandate is to implement the tax laws as approved by the Parliament. And where there are those that have been highlighted as being high, like the one on mobile money, we can have those proposals made and then approved and possibly passed through the Parliament in the next budget that is going to be read out soon. I also heard Lucy was asking how would it be easy for the common woman to comprehend some of these initiatives. We are carrying out different tax education programs, but also in addition to these, we have leaflets or brochures, and we have put them in different local dialects in the regions. And so these are easily accessible to all the people. And I believe by translating these documents, it even makes it easier and better for the person who possibly doesn't know English to understand what we are talking about. We also have talk shows, radio talk shows in the different regions, TV programs, and we also engage in various forums. Recently, we have had a forum with women on Women's Day, in which the URA was represented. And so I believe that as the URA, we are going so far in as far as training and in as far as giving people access to information or making this information available and availing ourselves. The ESC, yes, it is true that a number of people may not have had access to information previously and possibly do not want to pay taxes, or they mix up the two. When they pay at customs, they believe that is it. But we are here as business people, as the women and those who are contributing to the country. The whole budget of Uganda is about 47 trillion, and of which URA is collecting 24 trillion. So you would want to ask yourself who would then be paying the rest. If as women who are now in business do not come forth and formalize our businesses and also contribute, who else is going to do this for us? Who else will do this for our children that we are going to leave behind as we grow older? So I think as the participants here and as the members of Parliament and the rest and everyone online, we need to appreciate and come into this tax-paying culture and embrace voluntary compliance. Yes, there was a question on the social contract. Yes, if you pay your taxes, then what do you get out of it? And I believe there are different bodies or different organizations that are meant to do this. If you talk about the roads, we have UNRWA and KCCA and the different government institutions whose role is to do that. And so I would then look at accountability from these institutions. I've talked about the PADs. And yes, the tax education, you may not have received it, you may not have seen some of these tax education initiatives in your areas, but all these have been planned out in the regions and also in Kampala. So if it has not yet come, it will come at any point in time. But I want to inform you that we have different talk shows, at least those are happening at the regional level. I thank you so much.
Faith, there was a question.
Yes, thank you. The question is, what holds women from fully participating in public procurement? There are a number of reasons, like I said, and this is from a study that was done. One of them is knowledge. We realized women do not know about the procurement opportunities. The other one is the issue of capacity, financial capacity and technical capacity. The other is what we have been talking about, formal nature of businesses. For you to participate in public procurement, you have to be registered. You have to be compliant with all those things. So those are the few issues, and that's why we come up with all these strategies for women to participate. There was a question earlier on the issue of quality, whether when we implement preference and reservation schemes would compromise quality. No. Just to emphasize, the preference scheme, the margin of preference, if we are to apply the preference scheme, the margin of preference is applied at the last stage. That's at the financial evaluation. It means you have to go through eligibility, you have to go through the technical evaluation, and then when you reach financial and you want to apply a margin of preference to a preferred or a women-owned business, let's say, we would apply it at that stage. That means we're all competent. But we apply the margin of preference for you to give you advantage, just like it works for the 1.5 anyway for girls. You have to pass. You have to reach a certain level for the 1.5
to apply.
If you have not performed, even if they add you 1.5, you won't pass. So that's how we take care of quality. The reservation scheme still, just because it's a reservation scheme, doesn't mean that the procurement process will not apply. You have to, the reservation scheme means now we have reserved, we still want to see competition. That means women-owned businesses have to compete. We still have to evaluate. You have to match the criteria. If you don't match that, then we open up the procurement. There we shall say we reserved and there was no best bidder. So we open up. And that is why it's very important as women-owned business to be ready. Because these policies will be in place, but if we are not ready, for example, if you don't have the technical capacity to participate in a certain procurement, I don't think even whether we gave it to you, it would work, because we still want value for money for the public resources. I think that's it.
So thank you very much. Before we wind up, there's this last question, which is not for the panel. It is for members of parliament. So any one member of parliament can answer. What are members of parliament doing on the increasing commodity prices of soap, cooking oil, salt, and other commodities? So any MP can answer.
Thank you. First of all, the question is, what are members of parliament doing? One, our mandate as members of parliament. One is about legislation. We could approach that through legislation. But again, I must inform all of us here and those who are online that in this country, we are running a free market economy. where forces of supply and demand is what determines the price. And we have no price ceiling for that matter. But again, we are also operating in a global economy where prices for essential commodities like fuel will in no doubt drive prices of other commodities, many commodities. In this case, when you talk about soap, cooking oil, mention them. Some of these products are produced locally in the country, but not all that they require to produce soap is available within the country. So once there's a global disruption in the prices of these things, automatically it causes price fluctuations in our country. But the question is, what are members of parliament doing? The other role is about representation. I think it has been well articulated in parliament. Members have presented these views to government, and the Minister of Trade has been summoned by the Speaker, and they have given their responses. I think that is the best we could do as members of parliament. But I want to urge traders out there. Sometimes, again, we are the ones shooting off, killing our people with all this. You've just had sanitary pads. There are no taxes on them. But you wonder why it would have to cost a Ugandan up to about 5,000 or 4,000. Really, why? It is because the way we price our commodities. We are all after profit maximization instead of, saying, I would rather maximize sales, but we tend to go for the earn as much as possible very fast. Not knowing that if you're going to charge the prices very high, that means there will be few buyers and a lot of your stock will remain in your shop for a longer period of time. I advise that you maximize sales, sell more, bring more stock. It's running. That's why perhaps many of our businesses are collapsing before they see their second birthdays. But I want to assure the public that as members of parliament, we have presented these issues more than once on the floor of parliament. It's now government probably to come in and the Minister of Trade to meet some of these key traders, and we see how these prices can come down. But where it is a global issue, one country can't do it alone. Thank you.
Second issue that I thought I would say is when the tax bills come to the floor of parliament, I want to rally my colleagues here. Let us not speak like the NRM. Let us speak like the parliament. And we agree that if a commodity has gone beyond the price that we think, let us slash the taxes on them. Because that will be a direct kind of intervention from us. We are the ones who hold the power. It's not these other people who legislate. So therefore, for instance, when you talk about soap, we can say just for this 6 months, we consult with the NPA and all the Ministry of Finance, listen to one another, let us agree that for now, people have just come out of COVID, and we slash these taxes off. The one of the soap, the one on even the petrol, the fuels. Imagine we are taxing more than 1,200 per liter of diesel, if I'm correct, you are right. And for petrol, it's around 1,500 is the tax on every liter of what? Petrol. I know the problem is how do we balance between getting the revenue that we want and leadership the tax that we want to collect. Because we are talking of a budget of around 47 billion, and we are giving only 24 local revenue. There is always that pain. If we slash, where do we get it from? But right now, our people need to survive. We can do it for only just 6 months and rescue the people. To move from the very most essential commodities, the taxes for now. I think it will do. Thank you, Aida. think let's wait for those bills to come. Let's not go with this bandwagon kind of, the eyes have it. No. Let us this time around agree with me. When I'm an independent, I stand with the people. Let's not stand with the party where things now have refused to work. I think if we do that, things will work. When we say aye, the eyes will work. Thank you.
So as we come to the end of our great discussion, I want to, the panelists, to give us their last shot. And I'm going to ask the two ladies who have been talking a lot. That is Sandra and Faith. What is your last word?
For us, we just say thank you.
The last word is, let us step into the gig. I feel I was spared because people have not stepped into that gig. But let us be ready because the policies from our side have been put in place. And we have highlighted how we can be ready, register. There's something that I did not talk about, but this issue of e-procurement, we are also going e-procurement. Ladies, let us prepare to go e-procurement because we believe this e-procurement will also address some of these issues of corruption and all. So for me, the last word is let us be ready and let us implement the policies that are in place.
I think my advice to all the ladies is it's possible. I know it's a very challenging time in Uganda, but through it, we can be able to work. In Uganda, they say, Okayana Kalimu Nkwawe. Like, yes, like it's really hard. I know what women go through, but it's very important for us to formalize our businesses. It's very important for us to embrace URA because this is us. I know there's corruption, there's all this, but let's embrace. Never know where the change will be. But I believe so many women, you see, when a woman is empowered, when a woman is in business, she's not just helping herself, she's helping the community, she's supporting the nation. I believe a wealthy woman is a wealthy nation. And whatever women are doing behind there is what will make this nation stronger. So I think women, we have a great influence to this nation. We are the mothers of this nation. And if we do not rise up in places of economy, it's why you're finding women we are having GBV increasing and all these other things that are going on. But if we're able to embrace ourselves, let's get out of the self-pity, and we just trust God that we're going to go through all these situations and we shall be even much more better. As you walk through, I know God will bless the work of your hands. God bless you.
But closure is always there. Closure is always there. Closure is always there.
Because we have a way forward, we shall have closing remarks given by Emma before we go for lunch. Lunch is upstairs. Emma's closing remarks, but before you come, I wanted to ask members that for what is coming up with, they're putting up a permanent home, the Katanga D, Mara House, Mara Home, and they did talk about support. So we have pledge cards at the back of the room. You can pledge. You have some products over there. You can buy some products. I'm going to use informal language as I wait for the closing remarks. Otherwise, thank you so much, members. Can we give ourselves a big hand?
okujja kungobagamba nti sente ziri mu reveni mugende mugjeyo naye obagamba nti mindset nayo obagamba nti no policies are in place, banks have been
Thank you very much, Margaret Akande, for moderating this this dialogue. Yes, our first meeting was on here. Yeah. For those of you who don't know Margaret, she heads the Budget Monitoring and Accountability Unit at the Ministry of Finance. So she was the right person to ask these questions.
Yeah.
Because
to roast us.
Yes, to roast you, because her unit deals with monitoring the budget and accountability. And I think most of the things we are doing here were accountability issues. And of course, I had also introduced myself before. I'm called Emmanuel Kasheja, and I work under the Gender and Economic Justice Program at the Forum for Women Democracy. Once again, I would like to ask for a big round of applause for our panelists. We have even taken much longer than we should have because people really had questions. But these are valid questions, and I believe this event and events like these ones are going to help the public understand more about the issue of women's economic empowerment. Because as we have learned from some of these issues, or from some of your answers, some issues are policy, some issues are budgeting issues, but also a good number of the issues are awareness issues. People knowing about their tax liabilities, people knowing about their rights, people knowing about the available opportunities. So this event today, this national dialogue has, I think we can say we have had some takeaways, and those takeaways mostly have to do with the need to educate women about their rights, especially their economic rights. But also we have, from the people who are roasting Mr. Katumba, we have learned that planning and budgeting sometimes, of course, the context. Mr. Katumba and team at the National Planning Authority developed the NDP3 and the previous national development plans. And those plans have targets for both resource mobilization, targets for financing the programs that we operate under as a nation. Right now, as we talk, Parliament has received the ministerial statements from the different ministries for the upcoming financial year, which is the financial year 2022-23. And as CSOs, one of the things we are seeing coming out of these drafts, at least even in their current form, is the disparities between targets set out in the NDP3 for financing these programs and the actual allocations. At the Forum for Women Democracy, we are very concerned about, for example, the Community Mobilization and Mindset Change Program, which is our mother program. And we see, for example, the target set out in NDP3 for that program versus our allocation is an over 70% funding gap. So and those are some of the questions we shall continue asking. If you develop a program, and this program is supposed to take you somewhere, but you only finance it up to a tune of 30%, it means most likely you will achieve 30% of the results or worse.
You are failing.
So
you are failing.
Failure begins from there. The team, Caroline from URA, yes, your area of engagement is still new for CSOs in Uganda. Many people have been afraid of asking questions about tax, especially if they only ask, can I pay less? But it's an area that we need to engage on. Why we called Karen here today was that we have seen in some nations which are beginning to pioneer this. For example, especially to do with things like income tax. Some countries have begun even taking steps of having a different income tax rate for women, of all, as they do in the US, different income tax rate for single mothers, you know, that they have to take care of the children. So that's where we want the country to head, but we are still in our infancy when it comes to tax justice advocacy. But I hope we shall get there. PPDA, we are very grateful for the reservation and preference schemes. When I was writing the documentation for organizing this event, I was not sure whether the law had been amended fully and passed. So we are thankful that the law was amended and passed, but I think Margaret has already stated it here to you that we are still grumbling a bit, because getting 30% and putting all the vulnerable groups in there is not satisfactory on our end. But nonetheless, we are very grateful for that amendment. But as we see on the part of the PPDA, I think a lot of the issues around women's participation in procurement have to do with women's ability, and that ability then most of them come from nature. That ability comes to do with women being the face of poverty currently in Uganda. If you can't access financing, then you can't develop your enterprise. You remain in lower level informal sectors. And you can't supply government if you're in the lower level informal sector, because you don't even have tax returns. So the biggest takeaway from the public procurement side is, I think, the need to organize women, the need to develop women enterprises so they can effectively compete or effectively compete with enterprises headed by men and take up a good share of this lucrative sector, because as we have said, a sector which takes up 60% of government expenditure is so big to be left alone. And if we leave it alone, it means we shall never catch up. Madame Letio has been with the board for some time, has been with us. There are many more women like Letio who are coming up in business, and her role here today was to inspire other women to pass or to take the path she has taken, but also highlight the challenges that women entrepreneurs face, because many others are facing them and don't know how to go around them. So on behalf of my employers, my ED and the board, democracy, I thank all of you for coming. I thank the online audience for being patient, investing your data, attend something this long. And to you, the audience here, thank you very much for coming. Thank you for the deliberations. We had a rapporteur who has captured all the questions here, and this event is just the beginning of our advocacy work in some of these areas like taxation, public procurement, but even the general area of women's economic empowerment. As we have seen, the gap is still so big, so the engagement is just beginning. We still have a long way to go. Thank you all for coming, and we wish you a lovely day.